The question, though, is whether it worked or not, was it the smart play call?
It wasn't. What is this team built around? It's built around having one of the best offensive lines in football.
Yep.
A quarterback who is a dual threat with his legs and his arms.
Showed that last night.
And a star running back who, by the way, give him 2 consecutive carries. He goes for 5 or 6 yards, not 3.
Kincade Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Thursday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
I'm doing well. How about you?
Fine.
Uh-oh.
Nick Sirianni is the head coach of this football team. A very talented football team.
He is.
With high upside, with a coach that I question a lot. And I want to make it clear, I did not question him in 2021. I actually applauded him for whether he made the decision or not, get rid of play calling duties, give it to Shane Steichen, because there are a lot of head coaches in any sport that are very stubborn, stuck in their ways, and believe that their scheme is what got them there, their mindset is what got them there, their ability to coach is what got them there, so why should I change anything?
Well, he didn't have a scheme. Remember.
Well, yeah, exactly. 2022, things were perfect. Perfect. They won 14 games.
It was a wild year.
And they beat the doors off the Giants and the Niners and had a lead at halftime in the Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni should not have been questioned.
Never. No, that was a beautiful year. Everything went beautifully for him.
And through 11 weeks last season, you could have questioned the ability of the Eagles to win, but I don't think coaching was necessarily under fire.
No, it wasn't. I mean, we did the shows. There were, in fact, the vast majority of the fan base was telling us, back off if you have even criticized a 9-1, 8-1, 7-1 team. We were told that was ridiculous.
But then sometimes, as you get more information, you could do this about a friend, right? Let's say you go to college, freshman year. I had
You had a friend freshman year? I'm glad.
There's this guy. I met him freshman year. Right? We had an 8 a.m. class together. We were gym buddies, right? So we went to the gym. We would go to the 8 a.m. And then one random day, he asked me to shave his back. True story.
What?
I was no longer necessarily buddies with that guy anymore because I found that to be very strange.
That's like really creepy.
It was come on, bro, please just help me out. And I was like,
dude, I'm not shaving your back.
I'm okay. That's an honest story. So
that's really weird.
When it comes to Sirianni, a lot is good, a lot is good, a lot is good. And then all of a sudden you get to get more information on the head coach. And that's why I did not want him back last year, because my biggest beef, John.
Was he asked you to shave his back?
No. Okay, Nick and I haven't had that conversation.
Boy, the shaved back story, that's a great one.
Yeah. Look, weird life. So Nick Sirianni had 2 months to figure out a way to better the team for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair.
And after 2 months of failure, he came to his boss's office and gave him the sheet of his ideas, which were the exact same ones that had been going on during the 2-month spell. I've said this 100 times. Any walk of life, accounting firm, stock market, you name it.
Yep.
If your business is crashing, which it was, like the Eagles' business crashed over 2 months, and you walk to your boss, and the boss said, all right, this is the meeting that we're going to have to find out if you have an idea to turn things around. And you gave him a sheet of paper, and the boss looks at it, and they go, this is the exact same stuff you've been doing the last 2 months. Well, that's what I believe in. Then you'd be fired in any walk of life.
Or a boss might say, okay, that's ballsy. I'll give you till the end of the year, and then I'll cut you loose.
And so the end of the year is that playoff game, in which the exact same scenario played out.
It was a horrible failure.
Predictable plays.
Yep.
The offense was horrible. Jalen's playing hero ball. Nick doesn't have it doesn't even look like he has a clue of what's going on, and they lose the playoff game. And then we go into the offseason, and I think we were naive, John.
What, going into the offseason?
No, I think we were naive about what happened during the offseason. When Kellen Moore got hired, we all kind of thought, oh, well, Nick Sirianni's not going to be doing all that much. He's kind of just here. It'd be a bad look for the Eagles. Remember, we said this.
No,
It would be a bad look to fire a head coach after being in the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, and you just did that with Doug Peterson. You had a quick firing of Chip Kelly. It would be a bad look to have another coach, 3 coaches in the span of, 12 years, one of which won a Super Bowl, who you fired 2 years later. The other got to a Super Bowl. You're going to fire him 2 years later? That's going to be a bad look on the organization. Why would a head coach, a top head coach, want to come here? He has to work with Howie. And by the way, if he does work with Howie, he might get fired, no matter how successful he's been. So it's a bad look to fire Nick Sirianni. But what we can do is take away things from him. And Kellen Moore is going to be the head coach of the offense. Vic Fangio is going to be the head coach of the defense. And Nick Sirianni is just going to kind of be there. We were naive.
All right, I think I'll raise my hand as being king of the naivety or whatever it is. I was absolutely naive on it. Because yesterday just affirmed to me that I assumed too much. I assumed that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman understood the mission when they kept Nick Sirianni. They obviously didn't. They obviously, I believe, didn't. Maybe on the defensive side of the ball they did.
Yeah.
But on the offensive side of the ball, to me it appears they didn't understand the mission. Keep this guy away from the nuclear codes. Keep this guy away from the major decision-making.
But you can't do that unless you fire him. Because here's the deal. He is still the head coach, right? So
right.
Mike Tomlin doesn't call plays. John Harbaugh doesn't call plays. But they're still the head coach. So John Harbaugh is the one that puts the 2 fingers up. I want to go for 2. Mike Tomlin's the guy that says, I want to go for 2, or I want to bring pressure here defensively.
Okay, now I'm not taking you apart on this. I'm just telling you is that when I hear people make those correlations between Harbaugh and Tomlin, first of all, Super Bowl winning coaches. Mm-hmm. So you can't put Nick Sirianni in that conversation yet. He got to a Super Bowl, so that's pretty good. But one thing they do is they hire their assistants.
Right. Whereas Nick Sirianni doesn't, and it was kind of forced on him. Even though he said he hired Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio.
They hire their assistants. Everybody that walks into the building in Pittsburgh, everybody that walks into the building in Baltimore, they know who's in charge. They know who the buck ends with. I'm thinking the buck ends with the front office and not with the head coach.
It always has.
Yeah, it
always has with Howie.
Yeah, but the fact is, in this situation, I have no idea. It's like they're doubling down, saying we want to make sure that Nick Sirianni looks like the right decision.
So if you're wondering where we're coming from here, at 610-632-0975, the question is whether we were naive to say, oh, he isn't doing this anymore. Well, I'll explain what the question is more coming up. But the reason why we even get to this point. So Nick Sirianni spoke to the media yesterday for his day after press conference.
Oh, my gosh.
And
it was like salad works.
Yeah, I don't think it went well for Nick Sirianni. So let's play a couple of clips for you, and then we'll set up the entire show from there. Let's start with Nick Sirianni doubling down and believing now that he's even looked back at it and has gotten more information that the 3rd and 3 play call and the 4th down electing to kick the field goal were still the right calls.
Yeah, I don't believe that. And if you look at the history of that call, so, initially you go through it and sometimes the play fails for whatever reason, but you got to still look at each decision. In that scenario, we've put ourselves in that before. And so I kind of, what I did is kind of look through the entire league. I said to our analytics department, could you give me every 4th down decision from when teams are in range and 4-minute offense? So, because if you're up 6, you're kicking it every single time, right? Because that's going to put you up 2 scores. So I asked for every time it was 1 point to 5 points, the team was up under 4 minutes and every 4th down from the 34 and in. And there were 12 4th and 1s. There was a 4th and 3 that Houston went against Dallas for in 2022. And then there was a 4th and 2 that the Jets went for against Tampa. But that was it. And the rest were field goals. And I've put myself in that situation prior to the call. So I felt like in the moment, my conviction in the moment was I knew exactly what I want. Again, is the outcome always what you want? No. But your conviction in the call, I was completely convicted that kicking the field goal there was the right decision based off all my studies. Now, I come back and I reevaluate it, right? And I'm even more convicted, to be quite honest with you, of just everything that goes into that.
So my studies, by the way.
What does your study tell you there, by the way?
Nick Sirianni, PhD in football.
And Nick Sirianni calling the plays. Nick Sirianni called the play. He said, when I called that,
Yeah.
I thought for sure, I swear to you, I would have put any money down that Kellen Moore would have been calling the plays, would have been making the decision. I'm floored. You bring in so they've taken Kellen Moore out to the SPCA to be
They neutered him a little bit.
neutered.
Only half. Can you do a halfway neuter?
Yeah, I think they sort of have. It just, to me, that's that disgusting.
And there's a couple of things to it. So he still believes the 3rd and 3 was the right call.
Even though he talks about analytics,
yeah,
which is, by the way, the study of making decisions at the highest percentage of success based on history, which would have been run the ball at that point. No analytic was good. Nothing he could produce would give you a 97% chance of victory. He chose to ignore analytics, and then he touts analytics. It makes no sense.
What's funny to me, and there's a couple more clips that we'll play, and John, if the 3rd and 3, right? So a lot of that clip was about the field goal.
It was.
The 3rd and 3, if you do elect to run it, and let's say you get 1 to 2 yards,
yes,
it's still 4th down.
4th and 1 or 4th and 2
But
at the worst.
25 more seconds come off the clock. So I imagine that the analytics or his chart changes. All right? He mentioned specifically if you're losing with under 4 minutes left. I imagine the statistics change if it's under 3 minutes. I imagine the statistics change if it's under 2 minutes. I imagine the statistics change if it's under 1 minute, which it would have been if the Falcons got the ball after the Eagles ran the football and still kicked the field goal. It would still be under a minute.
No, the odds go, how about this? The odds drop significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, you give somebody a minute 36 left to drive the whole field, or you give someone 58 seconds left to drive the whole length of the field down 6.
Yeah.
Again, their explanations make no sense. Yet, they will have people that will nod their heads and go, oh, no, it was still the right thing to do. Still the right thing to do. No, it wasn't. And the more they talk, the more I just go, oh, my God, my head's going to explode.
All right.
It just is unbelievable.
He mentioned, if you're up 6, you easily kick the field goal. It's a 2-score game. So here he is talking about the stress for an offensive mind. In this case, it would be the Falcons being down 3 versus being down 6 because the field goal put them up 6.
As an offensive coach, there's a stress to have to score a touchdown when you're, giving the ball back to a team. There's a stress in that. And I get it. They get an extra down to do so. I understand all that. But there's a different stress being down 6 as opposed to 3. So that's also my experience as an offensive coach. And you know what? Our defense had done it really, where we were getting hurt was in the run game, not necessarily them dropping back and passing. Obviously we didn't do a good enough job on that drive. But to that point, we had only given up 15 points, and we were really salty in the red zone up to that point.
Nick, you had no pass rush all game.
They were salty in the red zone.
I get what he's saying about how the defense was not bad all game, and it wasn't. But your pass rush was.
Your pass rush was atrocious.
It was horrible.
So you knew what was going to be the key to winning that game.
They're not run the football during that last minute and a half.
And more importantly, too, he talks about the stressor, and he says it with a straight face. Well, we know the stressors that are on you as a play caller when you've got the length of the field to score a touchdown. So he understands that part of the mission. But he doesn't understand you have double-digit seconds left as compared to almost a minute 40. The stress is much less. It gives you much more freedom to be able to navigate it, especially with no timeouts.
I'll also say this. The opposing team has an extra down because you're going for it.
Yep.
Also, 3 points, 6 points. Clearly, there is a difference there. One's a field goal, one's a touchdown.
That's good math on your part. That's really good.
But you know what they both are? 1-score game. You allow the Falcons not only to still tie it with the touchdown, but also win it. And they did that. All right, we continue.
Oh, boy.
Analytics.
Wait, there's more.
Is just a piece of the puzzle. Take a listen.
Analytics is a piece. League study is a piece. This game always comes down to players and plays, right? What plays do you have the most confidence in to your players in those particular cases. That's where your confidence is coming from to go for things on that. We've been pretty darn aggressive, and I think we've probably went for it. I don't think probably we've went for it more in our plus territory than anybody else in the NFL. Why? Because Jordan Mailata, because Lane Johnson, because Landon Dickerson, because Jalen Hurts.
Oh my gosh,
because
read
of
them all
A.J.
off.
Brown, because of Devontae Smith, because of Dallas Goedert.
All right, pause it there.
Oh my gosh, it's like
there.
you don't have an answer. That is called you take a speech class in high school.
Yeah.
You don't know what you want to say, so that's a delay tactic. So you start rattling off all these names because you're trying to figure out what the hell sentence did I start and how do I finish it. That is a delay tactic.
But did he not just mention his offensive line and his great blocking tight end and his great running back?
He brought that up. So again, he understands half the mission, but he doesn't understand that 2 + 2 equals freaking 4. It's scary, man. It's scary the more he talks.
All right,
the more he
promise.
talks, it's scary.
We only got 2 more, and then we'll ask the question, and we will react with you all.
Oh, my gosh.
Nick Sirianni talking more about his chart.
Analytics is a piece of the puzzle. There's all those other things that go along with it. What's the chart say in that particular case? My chart, what I say to do is to kick it. Again, the chart is one thing. You guys can punch in a number there's about 20 websites, right, that you can punch in a number and say, what did it say here? So you all can see that, but I base it off of what my studies have been and my conviction on my studies.
So on the previous cut, we didn't play the end of it, and that's my bad, because there was something that he said. He said, I don't just read the chart, right? I go off of feel sometimes, which I appreciate. Nobody should just be all about analytics, right? They should have a feel. But he contradicts himself in that clip saying, I don't have the other charts, I have my chart. So you're still reading your chart. You're
Correct.
still reading your analysis. You're still basing a decision off of your study. So you are still reading something.
You're reading.
So you contradicted yourself by saying, oh, it's a field thing. You can't just live and die by the analytics, which I appreciate. I agree. I don't just read off of things. And then the very next answer, yeah, based off of my studies, based off of my chart. So you're still reading it.
By the way, do you realize something, too? There was a defense mechanism from him yesterday. You realize how many times he used my?
Yeah, I know.
Me, I.
And I saw
it's like
a tweet.
he wanted everyone to know in there that it was him. It was him. I'm calling the shots. I'm the one making these decisions. These are my decisions. Okay, then live by them.
Well, I saw a tweet from Shield Kapadia, who does a tremendous job.
He does do a really
and
nice
knows
work.
that Eagles team inside and out.
He's talented.
He responded to Tim McManus quoting out that quote right there, the chart, my chart. Shield Kapadia responds with, for most NFL owners, this would not be a big deal. But for the owner that Nick Sirianni actually works for, this is really bad. Because, if you want to that was the tweet, Jeffrey Lurie has invested a lot of money in an analytics team. Not Nick Sirianni's analytics, an analytics team.
Yes.
Last clip for you. There's no analytics for play calls.
They don't give suggestions on run pass and those. So that's
On
theirs
third
is
down.
more off of should you go for it on fourth down and third down, and not what you should do run pass there. If you look at the play too, the play prior to our fourth down call, our third down call, you can see that they're bringing junk inside, right? And on that play, like Landon had to take 2 on one of them, right? And he made this miraculous play that could have been called holding on, right? Because there's guys in every gap, and some of them they're bringing an extra guy in there. And if you look at it, Landon kind of had to hook the guy so Saquon could make a great run. It wasn't like it was a real clean look. And so we knew they were jamming it up inside, and so we tried to push it to the outside. Sometimes you to the outside with the play we ran, and sometimes you don't. You do it with another play, but that's why we did what we did there. Again, conviction in it at the time, conviction in it still.
You know what analytics, you know why he said that was on the third down call, whether to run it or pass it?
Yeah.
You know why the analytics department doesn't tell you whether to run or pass there?
Because they're not football guys?
No, because they assume you understand the mission. They understand that, wait a minute, time is against them. They have no timeouts. You strategize to take their timeouts away. So you make a play call that puts them in a worse position.
Yeah. You put him in a
Oh,
play.
my gosh.
Less time means less chances for
Oh,
Atlanta
my
to
gosh.
win. What's a good way to get less time? Running the football.
Oh, my gosh. That was a horrible press conference.
So
I
here's
heard it
our-
on the Mike Missanelli
Here's
show.
our question. Do you have faith that Nick Sirianni is good at what he still has the power to do, which is clearly more than what we all said? Maybe not thought. Maybe we're naive to it.
Okay.
He still has his fingerprints all over this thing. And we were naive to say that Kellen Moore is going to run the show offensively. Do you have the faith in Nick Sirianni to still do his duties? It's a head coaching day here on Kincade and Salciunas, 610-632-0975. Phil's reaction coming up next, and also the Sixers Arena. We'll give you an update on that next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
6:31 on Kincade and Salciunas on this Thursday morning. A busy show today on Kincade and Salciunas. We got a lot to get to today. We're excited for it. We got our man Derek Gunn coming up at 8:30.
Not Brendan Gunn. We want to make that clear.
Derek Gunn at 8:30. Kevin Nandi at 9. But before both of those, Pete Prisco, who I think does a tremendous job covering the NFL, covering the draft for CBS. NFL, but he's a big draft guy, too.
Yes.
He has his power rankings out, Johnny.
CBS's, yeah.
And where does he have the Eagles?
I believe it's 18th.
18th?
Yes. Yes. The thing is, though, Pete he thinks that they are a poorly coached team. He thinks it was a poorly coached thing, and he thought keeping Sirianni around was a huge mistake.
Oh, then he's smart, and I like him.
He may be right. He may be proven right with that.
Yes. Same with me.
Yeah, you may be proven
Connor,
right.
You know?
Me, I was too kind. Didn't want
Nice.
to.
You're
didn't
nice.
want to
You're
say.
nice. You're a nice guy.
I
John.
feel so dumb right now. When I heard the press conference yesterday, I feel dumber having heard it. The old movie line. We're all dumber for having heard
Billy
that.
Madison, man.
And I was floored. Honestly, I got to tell you, I was floored because I was listening to it on the Mike Missanelli show, and when they came back, I'm on a hike. I'm walking. I'm going, oh man, Mike and Bill Bill's gonna finally say, okay, he makes no sense.
Oh man, he won't go up against the family like that.
Mike is going as not only a fine journalist, but as a guy who's done this forever. Okay, Mike's coming out. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The two of them were like, well, I feel better about things ever hear that
you
press
knew
conference.
one half was going to feel better.
Well, I knew that Bill Sirianni would absolutely,
man.
but I did not expect it out of Mike. And I just said,
so I missed it. But what was Mike saying? He
explained himself, and Mike's big thing and his big point was, whether you agree with him or not, he backed up his decision. He talked about the use of analytics. And he said he took you behind the curtain more than you would ever get from guys like a Belichick or even a Mike Tomlin or whatever. So on that point, Mike's 100% right.
Can I say this to Mike? We can talk about it with Mike later. That's great and all for a guy who coached his second game in the NFL. It's another thing for a guy that had a collapse the way that the Eagles did last year, and then coming into this season has already made questionable decisions in both week 1 and week 2. He was great with time management in week 1. There were still some questionable decisions in week 1, whether or not to go for it on certain downs, whether to kick field goals on certain downs. And then, of course, week 2, we know that his decisions, that he made it clear during those clips that we played for you, his decisions cost them the football game.
They did. And the thing is, keep talking about analytics. And if you can hire 20 guys from Revenge of the Nerds to sit in a room and break down. First of all, they're not football guys.
No.
Second of all, most importantly, no decision on the third down call was going to give you better than 97% probability to win the game. And if you're going to tout that we make things based on intelligent decision because we've studied everything, you sure as hell got to know that play call. You got to know right there that asking someone to go, he says, trying to go the length of the field, the pressure on a play caller when they got to score a touchdown. Yeah, Nick, explain to us. A minute 40 to go or less than a minute to go? Explain to us. What are the pressures on a play caller in that situation?
Yeah, and just throwing out analytics left and right is a way to say, hey, it wasn't my fault. This is what my chart. Well, you know what? If it's your chart, again, his chart, he made it clear.
Right.
It's his chart. It's the study of Sirianni.
When I made, and he says,
where's his brother coach?
Mount Union.
Mount Union. It's the Mount Union chart.
When I made that call, when I made that decision, he kept doing the I thing. In other words, look, I thought Kellen Moore was brought here to do a job. Obviously, he was not.
Well, clearly,
he was not.
We were naive to think that Nick Sirianni was going to take this huge step back, whether it was game planning, game day decisions, you name it. So, our question at 610-632-0975. Now that we know that his fingerprints are on a lot of things still, do you have faith in him as the head coach at what he does? Because remember, a lot of us were saying, hey, he is a great motivator still, and I'm not saying he's not.
No, I still believe
he's a
that.
great
Yeah, I
motivator,
still
right?
believe that.
We all fertilize.
There are things that he does well. He's Farmer Nick. Farmer Nick does a great job in his overalls. But when it comes to certain decisions, he still has them because he's the head coach of the football team. We just thought Kellen Moore was going to run the show. That's clearly not the case. So do you have faith in Nick Sirianni and what he still does on game day? And I don't, which is why I didn't want him back.
I apologize to the audience. I seriously do. I apologize for being such a dope. I feel like a dope after hearing that press conference yesterday. I feel like a complete dope that I totally bought into. Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman understood the problem, and we're going to fix it with two coordinators that come in here and have autonomy to do their job. You could have the greatest offensive mind in the world, but then when you let Nick Sirianni run and he's going to make the calls. My call, my decision. He was clear. He was putting a stake in the ground yesterday.
This
isn't team. Kellen Moore. This is my team. My decision, my call.
Yeah, you know
guess what? Stupid. That's stupid on my part. I feel like an idiot.
Until he gets neutered again.
I just feel like an idiot. I really
no. If he gets neutered again, you won't be.
Yeah, but I totally bought into the fact that they understood, that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie understood the mission, that this guy can let him do the things he does well, but let the guys who understand their side of the ball do their job. I don't know what the hell's going on. Honestly, I'm totally confused as to what they're doing.
You can text in, you can call in 610-632-0975. Let's keep this going. We're going to get into the Phillies at some point during the show, and also the Sixers. Let's touch on the Sixers arena. Mayor Cheryl Parker said that basically the plan is in place. It has to be signed off still by certain people inside the government. It's stuff that's too big for me, right? I don't do. Basically, bottom line is, she okayed the stadium being built.
Yes.
I know people like it. I know people don't like it.
It seems really drawn down the middle, too. I mean,
look, there are certain things that are over my head, like how it helps or hurts Chinatown.
First of all, it's not in Chinatown.
I know.
I keep hearing that.
I know.
Can we just put that false narrative to bed? It bunches up against Chinatown.
But then I understand that maybe rent will increase. Like these are things, there are reasons why the residents that live in the area of Chinatown or work in the area of Chinatown that have their complaints. Me, man, when I'm talking about the Sixers arena, I talk about it from our standpoint, which is, do you want to drive into the city or do you want to drive down to the complex? I love the idea of the inner city arena. I do.
I'm intrigued by it. I'm completely intrigued.
I love the idea of it, and that's what I have focused on from the beginning is whether or not I think this would be a good idea. And if from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense. They want their own building.
How about a concert venue too? I'm interested to see how this all comes together. But what I don't get is to me, people saying, "Well, rent is going to go up in Chinatown." If they come and build. There was going to be near where I live. They were going to build this high-end spa bed and breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Now it has since fallen through. It still might get done again. If they built this, it could have meant an extra. My house could have been worth more money. My property value is worth more money. So. Anytime that somebody else takes land that they can buy and does something with it, that fashion mall is a disgrace. I've been in it twice this year. My daughter goes to it a lot. It's a disgraceful area of our city.
Yeah.
It is a joke. It is an eyesore in the middle of what should be a thriving, vibrant community.
Absolutely.
And this city has done a lot of money investing 15th Street and up.
Yeah.
It's done a really poor job of investing and down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to me.
And this is a way to better that area.
And then people are like, well, they could put something else in the fashion mall. They've had millions of opportunities to do it. Nobody wants it.
And again, the traffic thing,
Come on.
I understand it, but tell me the last time. I've been saying this for years. Tell me the last time you enjoyed leaving the Link, the Wells Fargo Center, or Citizens Bank Park. It sucks.
People are saying, oh, there's going to be terrible traffic. What?
Yeah.
There's terrible traffic anytime you leave that stadium complex.
Yes, absolutely.
It's horrendous.
All right.
I think people are a little scared of
They'll warm up to it.
Oh, they
Trust me.
got 5 years. 5.5 years.
Yep. All right. You can text it. You can call in 610-632-0975. If you want to react to this stadium, the arena announcement yesterday from Mayor Parker, feel free. Phillies, we'll get into them at some point. But Nick Sirianni, our main topic today. Do you have the faith in Nick Sirianni doing the things that he does on game day, which is more than what I think a lot of us were believing? Which is why I say no.
Just say no.
It's Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
ESPN's Adam Schefter.
Everybody's so
Wendy's Thursday morning, Johnny. It's burrito day for us here, and hopefully a chance for you to win a burrito right now. Caller number 1 to the contest line. First caller, 212-630-0975. We'll win our first of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. We have 4 to give away every single Thursday. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack. 45-inch nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm, buffalo, or ghost pepper. Open until midnight or later. Participating locations only. Caller number 1 gets our first of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards today. 215-263-0975. All right, so people are ready to react. Johnny, the text line is blowing up. We got a couple of calls, so we'll get to it right now.
Good.
610-632-0975. Do you have the faith in Nick Sirianni as the head coach doing what he does? And everybody makes the jokes like the Office Space, what is it that you do around here? Clearly, he still does a lot. He makes decisions of whether or not to go for it. He calls specific plays. You heard him say it in the clips that we played to start the show, and we'll play them again as the show goes on. He believes that analytics is a tool, not something to rely on, but he has a chart that he relies on, his analytics chart. He contradicts himself. He doesn't necessarily know exactly what he wants to do as the game goes on. And there's one clip that we'll play on later on the show. He overthinks things, and it's bothering me. Let's go to Colby in Central PA. What's up, Colby?
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
How you
Good,
doing,
man. What's going on, Colby?
So I'm with you, John. I'm ready to send this guy on a boat and send him out to sea. He has no feel for the game. That analytics stuff, it's like, yeah, you can look at that, but when you're on the field and you have a guy like Saquon Barkley, yeah, I want the ball in his hands. But hand it to him. Let him do what he does. And you know who doesn't pass the ball? Andy Reid.
Oh, my
He
gosh.
should take notes.
I can't even, honestly, I can't. The more he speaks, the more it scares me. Like, it bothers me.
He shouldn't be coaching a high school football game, let alone the NFL.
Well, he'd be the assistant to his brother.
No, I think his brother would be a 4.5-point favorite. Somebody tweeted me that yesterday. Hearing him
Thanks
speak,
for the call, Colby.
Hearing him speak, I think we hired the wrong Sirianni brother.
Maybe that's what it is, because he always turns to him.
He said he'd be a 4.5-point favorite in the big Friday Night Lights game.
Now at Union.
Oh, my gosh.
It's unbelievable, man. Like, he says, and to Colby's point, we talked about it ad nauseum this week. The safer play is to hand the football off. And Nick Sirianni can tell you all he wants. And Billy Sirianni, his cousin that does the midday show with Mike Missanelli, can agree with him all he wants, that the defensive line was going to load up that box, load up the line to try to not let Saquon Barkley get the 2 yards that they were looking for. But I will say this. At least the clock's running. There is such a thing, as you talked about earlier in this week, as risk management.
If you have a huge analytics department, one of the biggest in the NFL, and you decide to throw the ball there on the 3rd down play, not the 4th down, on the 3rd down play, you're ignoring basic. Why do you have an analytics department? Because any analytics department would tell you 97% chance to win. All you get plus chance to win. All you got to do is take 40 seconds off the clock.
Running,
Your odds to win the game go significantly up. Now, somebody else said here that I did not see it on NFL Live. One of our listeners says that the odds to win when the Falcons took over the ball down 6, if they had done it with 40 less seconds on the clock, their chances to win go down 60%.
Yes, because there's less time.
60%.
And oh, by the way,
So where are the analytics? Where's the analytics department on this graph?
I saw another great point on social media that
Okay.
I'm glad I saw, because it's not something that we thought about, John.
All right.
So I made the point when we played the one clip where he said the stresses of scoring 3 versus stresses of scoring 6. That's real. I get it.
I get it too.
You know,
I
field
totally
goal, you
understand.
only have to get to the 40-yard line, right? Whereas a touchdown, you have to get into the end zone.
Your play calling would probably be different too.
But bottom line is, for me, I look at it as, yeah, Nick, you're right, but it's still a one-score game, and you still have the opportunity of losing if they score a touchdown, kick the extra point, in which that's exactly how it played out. If they went for it on 4th down, let's say they ran the football, and 40 seconds comes off the clock, so there's under a minute left, and then they get stopped on 4th down. They go for it, and they get stopped on 4th down. They have to drive 97 yards downfield.
To beat you. They most likely would just take the 50 seconds to get into field goal range.
Right.
Tie the game, and
they
then
go
you go to
overtime.
overtime. They would not be. There's no way.
97 yards.
If they're down 3 and they have to go 90-some yards, they're not going to be gunning it to try to score a touchdown.
No.
Now, if there's a breakdown in a protection,
something
that might happen.
Right.
They're not being ultra aggressive to doing that. They're going to move that ball down the field to get it in. What's his name? Wei Kim.
Young Wei Koo. Yes.
They're going to get him into field goal range.
Yep. All right.
Oh, my gosh.
What do we got on the text line, Connor? And we'll get to more texts as the show continues because I know Nick Sirianni's clearly a hot-button topic, as he should be because he's still here.
This comes in all caps. Nick cost us the game, and no amount of word salad will change the outcome. Fire Nick immediately. This is going to be another 2023 season if Nick Sirianni is left in charge.
So, look, they're not going to fire him. Let's just, I get it. You want to fire him, all that kind of stuff. They're not going to fire him. I can be as passionate as I want about not wanting him back. I also am logical. He's not going to get fired. But I said this to Jeff yesterday, or asked Jeff about it yesterday. How important today? That's something we're going to talk about a lot probably tomorrow because tomorrow's our Friday show before the next game. Sunday's important. Sunday's very important for Nick Sirianni. All right, 7 o'clock hour is ahead. We continue our conversation. And also, we focus so much about what this loss meant for the Eagles. What does it mean for the rest of the NFC? We'll talk about that as well. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. On this Wendy's Thursday morning, another $50 Wendy's gift card will go out the door at some point this hour, an hour. We're reacting to Nick Sirianni's press conference yesterday where he talked a lot about me. And I'm not saying me as in Andrew Salciunas. No, me, my, I. It is still Nick Sirianni's team because he is the head coach of the football team. I think we were naive thinking that Kellen Moore would run the show offensively and that Vic Fangio would run the show defensively, even though he clearly does.
No. We were naive. Oh, and I blame myself. I swear to you, I blame myself most of all.
Do me a favor, Connor.
I feel embarrassed.
Let's play this clip. We're going to play it again later on the show. Where is it? Cut 16, please, Connor. We'll play this again later on this hour. But here's Nick Sirianni speaking about being naive. Here he is talking about his involvement as the head coach.
Well, obviously, I trust those guys to do their job, and I'm still going to focus my attention that way and towards the offense and also game management. But, we talk through everything. At the end of the day, offense, defense, special teams, I'm the head coach, so I'm responsible for all of it. So if the run game doesn't look the way it's supposed to look like on defense, then I'm first and foremost responsible. So, but it's just going through our process like we normally do. So I'll have the same process with the defense as normal. We'll talk through things, and I know that I trust the heck out of our defensive staff. Their track record is pretty darn good, and I trust our players.
So he just straight up told you that he's been lying to us. Remember, the press conferences of past used to be, sometimes I'm with the offense, but, the beauty of my new gig is I can leave the offensive meeting. Like if I need to talk to Quinyon Mitchell, or if I need to go talk to Vic, or if I need to go talk to Howie. Remember that one clip where he said, man, Howie couldn't get a hold of me last year.
Right.
As if he wasn't going to talk to the GM of the freaking football team.
He was so
Get
busy.
the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Those answers changed 2 weeks into the season. Well, obviously, I'm going to be more involved with the offense than I would the defense. Well, what do you mean, obviously? I thought a couple weeks ago you were all over the place. You're talking defense. You're talking special teams. You're talking offense. Now you're more involved with the offense than the other. So you've basically lied to us for the last 2 or 3 months. Or we were just naive into thinking that he wouldn't go back to this.
No, I consider myself completely naive, and it's not the first time. And I apologize.
You don't need to apologize.
No. I apologize because you know what I didn't do? I was blind to saying I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Mm-hmm. So no, that's a dumb thing on my part. I should have a more skeptical brain. And instead, I bought into the fact that they brought in Kellen Moore, they brought in Vic Fangio, and these guys are calling the shots. They're making the decisions.
One guy is.
But the thing is, though, Nick talks about in his press conference, it is me, I. If you had a drinking game yesterday of Nick Sirianni and how many times he said I and me, it's I'm in charge. You guys think they've deballed me? No, they haven't. Yeah. I'm in charge. I make these decisions. I do my own research. I have my own chart.
My chart. Not the thing that you get when you're looking for your medical exams.
And more importantly, I thought it was hilarious when he says, oh, no, they don't recommend run pass on third down. By the way, I got from 2 people last night with NFL organizations on a text. I said, is that true? Analytics departments don't tell you that? And I got one completely false and another one saying, only if you don't ask for it or are interested in it.
So he uses his analytics on should I go for it here, but then he'll decide if he believes it should be passed or thrown.
So in other words, he's like going, the analytics department, if you say to them, hey, 3rd and 3, the other team has no timeouts, end of the game, inside the 2-minute warning, the analytics department can absolutely give you a number, or at least other organizations can. I can tell you the Rams can.
Yes.
The Rams organization department, they can do it.
He contradicts himself with what he says. He contradicts himself with what he believes in. Oh, I don't rely on analytics with all my decisions. I rely on my chart. So your analytics chart. Not ESPN's chart, but your chart. So you're still relying on something. You're still basing your decisions off of paper.
Have you ever seen people that I love to play blackjack? And one of the keys to winning at blackjack, or at least not losing your shirt, is consistency. Consistency of decisions that you make and doing them over 10 hands, 20 hands, 30 hands. It plays out. It's as if you study the mechanics of blackjack and say, I'm not supposed to hit on this, but you know what? The last 2 times I didn't hit on it, I lost. So this time I'm going to hit on it, and you lose again. It's you either gotta buy into analytics or you don't. But you don't just pick and choose and go, a critical situation in a game. For God's sakes, the analytics department shouldn't have to tell you.
Which
to
is my
run it
biggest
there.
problem with him. Like if he was aggressive all game,
It's completely different.
and again, I said this to you guys 100 times yesterday. That 3rd and 3 play call, I could have totally just been on board with it if that's something he'd be doing all game long.
We didn't work,
Keeping an aggressive nature, but he didn't.
I didn't work with you two during Doug Peterson's administration. In fact, my first day on the air was the day in Philly, was the day after the game that he threw to get us a better draft pick. So I appreciate you for that, Doug. But with the two of you, did you guys buy into when Doug Peterson would be ultra aggressive? Were you guys big fans of it?
Totally bought in. I loved it about him.
I didn't love it sometimes because, and here's why. There's some analytics and there's some beliefs that I vehemently disagree with. The one of you're down, I'm trying to figure this out. You're down 15, and you score a touchdown.
Do you go for 2 the first time or the second time?
Well, if you don't get it
Then
on the
you're-
first time, now it's still a 2-score game. You lost.
You're done.
So, and
Game's
that's something
over.
that Doug Peterson believes in. That's something that John Harbaugh believes in. I understand the thought process. Well, if we get it now, next time we only need to get the extra point.
But the game's over.
But if you don't get it, you lost. Immediately you lost. You basically ended all chances with 4 minutes left in a football game. So there were some things that I did not like about Doug Peterson. But, like the Super Bowl, all his go for it, he had to. Those were the right decisions because if he gave Tom Brady more opportunities, they would have lost.
They studied the 28-3 Falcons game
Yes.
and said this isn't going to happen.
Yeah, so there were things that I loved about Doug Peterson
They left
when it came to that stuff.
like in the Falcons Super Bowl, and I made a big deal of it, probably why Dan Quinn was not happy with me. If Matt Ryan, when they were up 28-9, so it was after New England made it 28-9, if they had just snapped the ball with 2 seconds left on the play clock, every single offensive snap, Tom Brady, when he came back to tie the game and send it to overtime, would have had 38 seconds to drive the length of the field to win the game, to tie the game and send it to overtime. They gave him much more time because they were running their regular.
And you gave Tom Brady
and Kyle
much more
Shanahan.
time.
Kyle Shanahan was like, "That's how we've done it all year long. So that's how we did it, and that's how we chose to do it."
No, they probably still lose because it's Tom Brady versus Atlanta. So
No, I don't think 38. No, I don't think 38.
38 seconds is
38
tough.
seconds.
But
He's going the length
to
of the
your
field
point,
to do that.
Kyle Shanahan, that's what we did all year long.
That's
we'll
what we
stick
did
with
all
it.
year long. We're sticking with it.
Nick
That's who we are.
Sirianni in the Super Bowl, we did this all year long. But then he went against his beliefs. And in that case, I didn't like it because you gave Patrick Mahomes more chances to win.
Yep.
You gave him the more chance. That's dumb. Some things are stupid.
There's something. The fact is it's bottom line. He explains eloquently why he wanted to go up 6. He explains it very well, and very eloquently, and I agreed with all of it that I'm hearing. That is all the more reason why you run the ball on 3rd down and you don't throw it. It's all the more reason. He realizes the going up by 6, the pressure it puts on the other team. He was totally intent on kicking that field goal. I get it. No problem.
But it'd be nice with there's 50 seconds left as opposed to a minute and a half.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, what do we got on the text line? We'll get to the calls as well. You can text and call on 610-632-0975. Our question, do you have the faith in Nick Sirianni doing what he does? Clearly, he's still heavily involved. Now, I'll say this, John. He graded out well in week 1.
Oh, no, he did.
There were some things that I didn't agree with.
For it. Yes.
But he graded out well in week 1. They won. He did not grade out well in week 2. They lost. Do you have the faith in Nick Sirianni, what he does as the head coach of this football team, to be good at it? And if not, well, what's next? 610-632-0975. What do you got on the text line, Connor?
Eric from Virginia checks in and says, you guys need to move on. Coach, and there are other former coaches and players that said they would have done the same thing he did in that moment in the game.
It was 13-2. With all due respect, ESPN and Fox ex-NFL players 13-2. And I thank our listeners for doing the research.
But, like, that's not even the point. Here's why that's stupid. And
It's
it goes
so
back
stupid.
to my whole point about believing that anyone who played a professional sport or coached a professional sport or is in a pro office is infallible.
People make mistakes all the time.
It's not saying they're infallible.
Yeah, who are the players? Who are the coaches? Did the players stink? Did the coach have a losing record at the end of, like, there are some coaches that are on shows right now, and I'm not even thinking about anyone specifically, but I just know they exist, that were not all
Yeah,
pro
like,
Hall of
Eric
Fame
Mangini.
coaches.
Rex Ryan.
Eric
Like, yeah.
Mangini.
There's a reason why they're no longer
They were all
coaching.
right. They made bad decisions too. Like, just because you coach doesn't mean you're always right. That's why that opinion should not be taken
and we
as
have the
fact.
and we have the ability to have hindsight, because here's why people say it was the right call, because he was wide open.
There's no question
but that's surface level.
That's risk reward. Again, risk management. You study risk management. If you study analytics, you better know risk management. George knew risk management. I mean, is that you better understand. He read a book on it.
He did.
You
He tried
better
to.
you better understand that it's not, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And if you don't understand that, I'm not hiring you. You're not smart. You're not a smart decision
And the
maker.
thing that people keep on going to, oh, well, there was a design in the play that if Saquon was covered, Jaylen would just tuck it and run,
Okay.
slide.
I would hope there would be.
Okay, well, Saquon was open. So he threw the football. And what happens? He dropped it. And because he dropped it, the clock stopped.
They didn't you don't take into consideration the intelligence of saying, there's a chance. And by the way, Jeff McClain was right yesterday when he said to me, yeah, well,
He had more opportunities.
Saquon's had a lot more opportunities. His drop rate still is a top 5 drop rate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not something he's good at. It's not his skill set. You know what he's great at? Running the football. He's great at it.
No,
I mean,
it is an easy pitch and catch, though, right? Can we all agree that that's a simple
and the play was
play?
made earlier in that quarter, I think. Either it was the third quarter. It was the same. They were driving the same.
But how many things can
Side of
go
the field.
wrong?
No, I got you.
That's
I'm
the
not
thing.
saying it was the smart decision. What I will say, because part of my argument to you guys yesterday on the whole overreaction thing was trying to put us in perspective of where this team really is. I know Nick Sirianni didn't help his case, but they schemed the guy wide open with the game on the line, whether it was the right decision or not. So that is in some way a positive. Last year, that would have been a bubble screen that didn't have anywhere to go.
I think you're right on that regard.
So I think that's something.
even though, hold on, there were 2 Britton Covey bubble screens
Yes.
inside the red zone
okay.
last week.
And
Like,
Britton-
that can't happen.
And Britton
I'm
Covey
with
being
you.
the focus.
yeah.
But there are slight upsides to this where we get worried is the fact that we don't believe the coach can identify him.
Yeah, but like I'm going to go to a very simple, non-Eagle related example of why this play was just the risk reward aspect
Yes.
of it. There was much more risk throwing the football than it was for Russell Wilson to hand the football off to Marshawn.
Yeah.
Yes, and it cost them a championship. I mean, it is so dumb because it doesn't make sense because of the fact is what can go wrong? Sure, it's a pitch and catch. Could it bounce? Could it be deflected? Could it be a fumble? Could it be whatever it is? It is. There's so much more. Handing the ball to Saquon is such a low risk move.
And that's point 2 I was about to make. Marshawn Lynch is Marshawn Lynch. You're
Yes.
handing it to Saquon Barkley. It's not. If Kenneth Gainwell was your lead back,
I completely understand trying potentially not having that same thing.
all right, sounds good. It's Saquon Barkley.
I
It's-
understand all of this. You guys are absolutely right. I'm just saying, like, there are situations that are worse that we had last year. Like, part of this doesn't feel like last year because I like the opportunity that they were given, even though I hate the decision that led to it.
The only thing is, though, Connor, is that I'd say, and you're, by the way, you're completely correct. There's
Yeah,
no
last
lies
year's last year,
detected.
this year's this year.
But to me, I don't want to use being better than last year as a, woo,
No,
yeah, we're better than last year. No, last year was an atrocious, abysmal failure. So I'm not celebrating being oh, wow, you're 10% better than last
And
year.
I would say that a week 2 loss to the Atlanta Falcons is a failure.
No, it's absolutely a failure when you're a touchdown favorite.
It's one
Or
thing
almost a
for, I said
touchdown
this
favorite.
earlier in the week. It's one thing if you lose to the Baltimore Ravens, right? Ravens are AFC Championship contenders. They have the 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. You lose by a touchdown, damn, they bested you. You losing to the Atlanta Falcons and the way that they did, you failed that game.
I got you, but here would be my argument. If you were building a graph of anything, any type of sample, any type of study, and you had 2 points of information, week 1 against the Green Bay Packers in Brazil and week 2 against the Atlanta Falcons, I would say that's a crappy graph with 2 points of information. Like, was the situation bad? Did they make bad decisions? Do we have questions about the head coach? Sure. But all of this is framed in a lot of teams have 2 weird games. We don't know what a lot of teams are.
Yeah, but you know
right
what?
now.
Speaking of information, we learn more information.
Yeah, and more
Nick Sirianni's heavily involved.
and that's also more a problem, but I'm also going to tell you too, Connor, I'll just go back to risk management. I'll go back to statistics class. You cannot ignore the data you already have.
No.
You can't just say, well, we've got 2 games of data to go off of. No. With Nick Sirianni, we've got 3 full seasons plus 2 games of data.
I understand, which is why we didn't want him back, and that was Andrew and I's argument.
No, I know you did say that,
and now
I did not.
Now we're roped into this, so we have to live with what we've got. We could say all we want that Nick Sirianni doesn't know what he's doing. That's where some of us have stood for a long time. Some people have taken longer to get there, and I don't blame you on that, Johnny, because you had faith in a guy.
There.
Like, you had faith in a guy that took this team to the Super Bowl.
I did.
I don't think that's crazy, but
No.
at this point, we've got to survive this. Or else this is going to turn into a train wreck and the coach is going to be gone and everything's going to be miserable.
And that's why this Sunday is a very important game.
Yes, it is.
You know what, though? I do agree with Jeff McClain yesterday, though. It's not Sunday is not a must-win.
No, it's not.
Not with the schedule the Eagles have. The Eagles have a schedule that is severely backloaded opportunity for
But sometimes must win or whatever might not be record.
Oh, you mean just morale, belief?
And let's say Sirianni makes 2 or 3 more boneheaded decisions in this game against the
I've
Saints.
already bet the over Parks app that he will.
So what if he does? And not the whole city, but a lot of the city was ready to move on. And hey, the Eagles may have been ready to move on because it took 8 days for them to basically bring him back. And there's been enough reporting, and I'm going to tell you about something Bill Belichick had to say later on this hour. There's been enough reports out there about how Bill Belichick and Howie and Laurie may or may not have spoken during the offseason.
Gaston and LeFou were talking with Howie Roseman?
So, must-win game might not – I'm not saying that record. I'm not even saying must-win game. I'm just saying this game has to go well.
I hear people saying must-win game, though, and I think it's absurd.
I think this game
Completely
has to go
absurd.
well. Or there's going to be more questions and more conversations. And that's something you don't want 3 weeks into a season, considering what just came off of last year. Let's go to Blake and Exton. Blake, you're on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Hey, good morning, guys.
What's up, Blake?
I didn't actually get to hear the press conference yesterday, but just kind of tuning into what you guys have been saying. In my opinion, Sirianni just needs to sit back and let his coordinators just do their damn job. I understand he will have some say in the things, but he lets his ego get in the way entirely too much, and he tries to be fancy in situations he doesn't need to be, and that a lot of times ultimately ends up costing us.
Yeah, his ego was on display yesterday.
Yeah.
Me,
my,
me,
yeah.
all. His first-person pronouns were going wild yesterday.
But looking back to the Super Bowl year that we went to with the Chiefs, our OC was Shane Steichen.
Yep.
And he had a big impact on that offense. And I'm sure, Sirianni really didn't have too much authority in the plays on that. And look what happened. We were, one of the top teams in the league.
And I wonder, Blake, from a human element, we appreciate the call,
Thanks,
man.
Blake.
From a human element, you're Nick Sirianni, right? Team goes to the Super Bowl. It's all because of Jalen Hurts. It's all because of Howie Roseman's roster. Shane Steichen, what a great play caller he is. Future head coach Shane Steichen.
And he gets a head coaching job.
Future head coach, defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. Oh, how will the Eagles survive without the two of them? Sirianni goes, well, hold on a second. This is my team, damn it.
Did you hear him yesterday? Well, it's my job to create future head coaches.
Well, think about...
I have never heard that. I've never heard a head coach say that.
But think about what all the talking points were this offseason. Thank God Nick Sirianni lost a lot of his abilities as the head coach of the football team, a lot of his duties. I wonder, from a human element, if he goes, oh, whoa, this is still my show.
Yep.
And I'm going to show that to you guys all.
That's a great point.
That could play into it. I don't know. The ego's a bad thing, man. Bleed pride, Butch. All right, come on next, 610-632-0975.
I haven't heard that in a while.
We get more text messages. Also, Bill Belichick.
Gaston.
He really likes the Eagles. I'll tell you why next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5. 6:41 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on a Wendy's Breakfast Burrito Thursday.
Promises.
Connor, give us a number.
2.
Call number 2 to the contest line. The reason why I didn't ask you, John, is because I know what number it is. Call number 2 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. We'll win our second of our 4 Wendy's $50 Wendy's gift cards. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack, 45-inch nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm, buffalo, or ghost pepper. Open till midnight or later. Participating locations only. 215-263-0975. Caller number 2 will win our second of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. All right, before we get back to the text messages, I want to read this. So you know how everyone says Micah Parsons wants to be on the Eagles because,
Yeah, exactly.
he always talks about how much he loves the Eagles and how he does such a great job. And every time he does that draft show with the left go guy,
People assume that it's, yes.
yeah, and he's, it's another great move by the Eagles. And then he kind of sometimes doesn't badmouth his own team, but
No.
he speaks more highly of the Eagles than he does the team that he plays for. So we're all under the impression that Micah Parsons wants to be a member of the Philadelphia Eagles one day down the road. What about Bill Belichick as the head coach of the Eagles?
No.
Okay, you don't want him.
He
No.
wants to be, and he wants to be bad.
Oh,
Wants
no,
to
he
be
wants
here.
to be. Yeah.
So Bill Belichick has his Let's Go podcast. And
It's Brady's, isn't it, or not?
or is it Brady's podcast?
I'm not sure who's
Yeah, it's Brady's.
It's
He had
Brady's.
Belichick.
Okay.
And Belichick, who supposedly hated Brady, and Brady hated Belichick.
Yeah, all that
you
was-
can clear it was false.
That was
completely
baloney.
false.
All that was baloney. And that's why when people said, oh, Brady and Belichick were able to work through it, first of all, no, it wasn't the way that Hurts and Sirianni clearly had a disconnect. Also, let's not act like the GOAT coach and GOAT quarterback are Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, but that's a
Exactly.
conversation for another day. So Bill Belichick was asked by Brady about organizations that he respects. Now, it's interesting. He mentions 3 teams. He mentioned the Detroit Lions. He likes what they're doing there because they have an identity,
Yes.
right? Like, all right, it's an aggressive 4th down team, run the football. He likes the defense. Like, there's things that he likes about that team. I think he likes identity, which is something that Nick Sirianni is struggling with. He mentioned the Dallas Cowboys. Wow.
Another job that could be coming open.
A job that could be coming open, right? That he's been linked to. And, of course, he talks about the Eagles and says this. Now, this quote is fascinating
Okay.
because who does this appease, John? Does this appease himself?
Okay, I didn't hear this one either, so I want to hear this.
Quote, you look at a team like Philadelphia. They've put together a pretty good roster. They continue to make great moves like signing Bryce Huff
Oh.
and trading away Hassan Reddick, giving that problem to somebody else, end quote. Who is that a direct compliment toward?
I'm happy to take responsibility for all of that.
That's licking boots. That is Howie Roseman leaving his shoes out in the hallway and the concierge coming by and polishing those babies up
Now-
and leaving them out there aside his door.
Now, it's fascinating.
That is incredible.
They posted this. So what's today? Today's Thursday. It was
Yes.
posted on the 17th.
I read about this.
I don't know if it was recorded on the 16th. But if it was recorded on the 17th, the day after week 2, where Bryce Huff once again put together a nothing burger on the stat sheet, that is, like you just said, bootlicking for Howie Roseman.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, remember, why is Bill Belichick not going to get the job here, according to many people?
Because Howie would be making the personnel call.
And they can't work together.
Well, no.
But if Bill Belichick wants to come here to the point where he's going to talk about how great Howie Roseman is.
No, and he uses the Josh Huff,
Bryce Huff.
the Bryce Huff.
Although
He uses-
they
yeah,
basically had the exact same
They have.
tenure in Philadelphia.
He uses
Nothing.
the Bryce Huff signing move as proof of concept. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my gosh! I'll tell you, I heard it yesterday in context. I reacted to it. I didn't realize it was part of a broader interview with Brady.
Yes, he asked him what organizations he respects. He said the Lions. Not that job.
No, that's
I don't think
not
that
right.
job's opening up. But
I
then
don't
the
think so
Cowboys
either.
Eagles one. Clearly, that's going to be 2 teams that could be available. By the way, 3 teams in this division because who knows what happens with Brian Dable and the Giants moving forward. And Bill Belichick has wanted to be in the Northeast. So the Cowboys thing I find interesting because just because they're in the NFC East, they're down south.
Well, it's the Cowboys.
I get it. but he wants to be in the northeast kind of corridor of the country. So Giants,
Well, there are a lot
Eagles-
more young girls in the Northeast corridor, I think, that is part of
Look,
it.
he's happily
What?
dating, I think.
Yeah.
Is that? I don't know if that's still going on or not.
I think it
I don't
is.
know.
Think
But
it
when you hear that, dude, he is still doing what, and it goes back to what you said and how it was probably a little disrespectful
It's
that he was
completely
on the
disrespectful.
sideline Monday night.
It's completely disrespectful that he was on Nick Sirianni's sideline. And then he's doing this crap on a podcast? Literally. I
Maybe
mean,
that's why
it's-
Nick's a little more defensive after that game.
I don't blame. You know what? And I said it today. It's completely disrespectful the way that they handled that the other night for their head coach on Monday Night Football, second game of the year, when you've got someone who is absolutely doing Vampire Diaries on his job.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. It's ridiculous.
Listen, the vultures are circling. So what do you need to
They
do?
sure
Oh,
are.
he's the king vulture.
Show me signs of life.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
that's
You have
fine.
to, and
Well,
if
he
you
did.
don't-
He did. Week 1, he showed you signs of life. Week 2, he blew what should have been an easy sign of life. We wouldn't even be talking about Bill Belichick if they were 2-0.
Absolutely. And let me ask you guys real quick on that Belichick thing. How is that not a good thing? Like, how is that?
Because I don't believe him.
Okay.
I believe he wants a job, and he's pandering. The only thing he didn't do was come
Well-
out. He didn't come out in fanatic boots.
So do you think he's
But
going
is
to, like,
this not a bad job to want?
It's a great job, though.
Well, exactly.
But
and
it's
then
not-
one of the greatest coaches of all time
but
wants
don't,
it.
No, but don't pander with. Oh yeah, well what a great move. Look, I've said it all along, and I got told it by enough people that I got it specifically. This whole thing when it went down with Hassan Reddick, and I was asked by somebody, how many of his Eagles teammates came out and supported him?
Right. I know.
And they were like, you maybe don't know the whole story with Hassan Reddick and how sort of unpopular he
Well,
may
Bill
have been.
Belichick said they got rid of that problem.
But, like, look away from whether or not he's right. Think about why he's saying what he's saying and why he would be pandering.
Because he likes the job.
Because he wants the job.
it's a good spot.
But if he likes the job and he's Bill Belichick, he says, kick rocks, Howie. Your one Super Bowl doesn't hold up to my 6.
He was begging for the Falcon job.
Okay.
I mean, look, Connor, he's willing to say anything to get back into the NFL.
I understand. Or is he willing to do anything, in which case he may be willing to work with Howie Roseman in a joint role in a way that
That's
we
why.
haven't
That's why.
before.
That's
does
why
that
that
make you
quote
happy?
means-
Yes, absolutely. It makes me happy that Bill Belichick may not only coach this team, but coach this team in a way that he can exist with one of the better GMs in the sport.
Right,
That should make
because
everybody
the
happy.
biggest issue with Belichick over the last 5 to 10 years has been the inability
Okay.
to draft well and all that.
All right,
kind of stuff.
I'm gonna ask you both then. Lead me through it. Lead me through the drafting of all the Georgia players.
Oh, we're
Lead me
going to
through-
talk about that
lead
coming
me
up
through
next.
the Huff
by the
signing.
way.
I'm saying to you, don't start being like, well, it's lucky because then we can keep Howie. I think Howie right now, Howie's got to be called into question for some of these moves.
So in 2 weeks of the season now, Howie's gone from great off season to we got to question him.
No, it is a great offseason for certain moves. I didn't like the Huff move. So
Okay.
don't spin it that way.
Again-
I didn't say anything
Again,
about
it was an
the Huff
unknown.
move.
We didn't know.
It was like I thought that was a huge risk.
Right.
Said it yesterday. Forced into it.
But I absolutely knew that he wasn't forced into it. You don't have to get one guy. It wasn't Hassan Reddick sent out the door. You have to go get Huff.
Okay.
That's the only guy on the shelf.
Who is the other edge rusher? Like, who is the other guy? Do we have a bunch of guys that he passed on?
No, you don't know what he can do.
There were other
and he's
guys,
shown
and
it.
there were probably guys that he didn't have to spend $17
Correct.
million
My point is,
for.
he didn't want to go get Bryce Huff or anybody else. He wanted Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick told you to kick rocks. He did the same thing to the Jets. He put you in a tough spot.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
Yeah, but he
complaining about the
could've-
Reddick
But
situation.
it wasn't just one answer to the question. Is well, if you lose Reddick, it's got to be Huff, and it's got to be $51 million, which is atrocious.
You want to know how bad his tenure is so far? I know it's just been 2
2
games.
weeks, yes.
Our man Tommy Reardon checks in. Put some respect on Josh Huff's
Yeah,
name.
exactly.
He had a more productive Eagles tenure. So we are saying that Josh Huff's better than Bryce
Now
Huff.
look, Huff's got a chance to fix this storyline.
Yes, he does.
Well, right now and more importantly, and I said it, I looked at every sack from last year thanks to the Jet fans and their YouTube. Josh Huff last year, it was garbage time. He was putting up those numbers. Garbage opponents, garbage time. Bryce Huff. No, maybe I want Josh back.
Maybe as an edge rusher. It may bulked
my
up a little
gosh.
bit. All right, coming up next, you mentioned the Georgia players. Tim McManus joined the best show ever yesterday. Talked about Jaylen Carter and how there's no excuses. And there's a reason why I tried saying a couple times, hey, slow down. We'll discuss more coming up next. Also, we got to get into a conversation about T-shirts and hats.
Uh-huh.
I'll explain more coming up as well right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP.
7:47 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Thursday morning. We got 2 more Wendy's gift cards to give away at some point during the show today. By the way, busy day. I told you guys this about this in the 6 o'clock hour. I will remind you now because we're getting closer to it. At 8:05, as we know, today's headlines with Connor Thomas, followed by Pete Prisco of CBS, who's been covering the NFL for a long time now.
Excuse me, real good dude.
18th, he has the Eagles on his power rankings. 18th, Johnny.
I reached out yesterday and I said, you got to come on and talk about
your... I appreciate you for doing that.
You got to reach out and talk about the Eagles tomorrow. And you can have fun with Pete.
Yes,
he's going to come back at you, but he's going to have some fun with it.
And I have the blurb that I will read to you coming up at the beginning of the 8 o'clock hour as to why they are at 18.
I think that people will have a hard time arguing with it.
Yep.
I think the fact that people have the Eagles in the top 6 is absurd. I think watching the Eagles,
NFL.com had them there, man.
I think, and I said to you yesterday, absolutely absurd. Like they make no sense. And I like the NFL.com usually the most.
Yeah,
makes no sense.
Yeah, I found it interesting. I was listening to there was a clip that was circulating on social media, and I don't want to talk about it today.
All right,
because if they win Sunday, it's shut down. But Kyle Brandt, who I think is very entertaining and knows his football.
Philip Kyriakis from Days of Our Lives.
God bless.
There you go.
He said, he talked about like 3 or 4 things. They basically do the second opinion segment.
Right, exactly.
Right? And he changed his opinion on the 3rd and 3 play call. He apparently did not like it when it first happened. He has since gotten more information as to why he does like it.
All right.
Probably because he was open, and that's the easiest thing for everybody to go to. He's tired of Big Dom and how he's always on the camera and everything.
A lot of people are.
And then the 3rd thing he said was, we got to stop talking about the Eagles as a playoff team. And he said, I'm looking at them not just 1-1, but 2-9. And he's going back to last season and how in their last 11 games, they're 2-9.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
Can't.
But remember, there were a lot of predictions right before the season started. Eagles are starting 6-6. Eagles might not make the playoffs. I don't think it's time to have that conversation just yet. But he basically said, we got to stop talking about the Eagles as some juggernaut. They might not even be that good.
Completely fair. I would have thought it would be.
It goes back to your power rankings point.
I would think it would be completely fair to say stop talking to them about it as a juggernaut. Absolutely.
I just didn't want to have that conversation today because if they win Sunday,
right,
we're right back to it.
And we are. And
if they lose Sunday, maybe we revisit the quote. We revisit what Kyle said. All right, so Pete Prisco at 8:10 to talk about his power rankings, where he has the Eagles at 18, Derek Gunn at 8:30, and our man Kevin Nandi at 9 o'clock. Johnny, we got to talk about this this T-shirt thing.
Okay.
Explain.
Can I present it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
Last night when I heard that the Phillies were contemplating what will the celebration be when they clinch the playoffs tonight.
Right.
I'm like, if they win, I'm like, what? You haven't won the division yet. You haven't, like, I mean, it's like the division is what you celebrate. Oh, no, they're going to have a champagne toast for qualifying for the playoffs. Then they'll save the real champagne party and everything for when they clinch the division. I'm like, that's going to be a couple of days apart. What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? And more importantly,
one's a happy hour, one's a rager.
So, more importantly, is the idea of, okay, all right, so we're going to celebrate this, and then we're going to celebrate that. But I'm going to tell you, somebody's going to stroll in here and be like, NL East Division Champions. And I'm going to see that T-shirt, and it's going to be Red October, and I'm going to roll my eyes.
Now,
I'm like, mission not accomplished. That would be like walking in saying, Atlantic Division Champions, Sixers T-shirt.
Right.
While the Sixers are heading to the conference finals to go try to win a championship.
Right.
I'll celebrate the season when it's over. I'm rolling into Rally House getting something new Phillies before Red October.
Yeah.
Something new Eagles before a playoff run. I can't stand the hat. The hat's the worst thing.
Now, this is an interesting
Division champs.
This is an interesting conversation because I think there's context to it.
Okay.
07, if you wore an NL East champion shirt, I think that's totally fair. They hadn't made the playoffs in 14 years.
They haven't made the playoffs.
In 07.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, right.
No,
So, are you wearing it during Red October?
Sure, why
Well,
not?
when are you going to wear
Yeah.
it? After the season's over?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're buying it to own it.
No, what I'm saying is
You're buying it to sport it.
My mom, God bless her, she did the let me run to the store the next day, right? I love her to death for doing it. So, what am I going to not? Am I going to say, Mom, thanks for I'm not going to wear it until November, though.
I'm not wearing it. Like, I think it's people wearing National League champions. When we were at Rally House, remember we did the shows, Connor?
But when
Like,
when you're not in the playoffs for 14 years
Well, no.
and you win the division,
Okay,
I
this
think
is-
that's fair. I don't know if this year you should wear one, considering
No.
they were in the World
You were
Series
in the
2
World
years
Series
ago.
2 years ago.
And
You
the
were in the
NLCS
last year.
Hang on.
Division champions.
It's not the goal, but the Phillies have not won the NL East in what, 13 years?
I know you're right, but they've been in the playoffs.
Here's for context. I turned 30 in a couple weeks.
Okay.
I would not have had my driver's license the last time the Philadelphia Phillies won the National
Right.
League East. So if somebody says, finally, they got back on top of their division. I know we've had this other success, but it's been a while since I've been able to say we run the NL East, and I want to say that via a T-shirt. I don't think there's any issue with that.
I'll say this.
We run the NL
but
East
I'll say
based
this.
on one?
I'll say this, John.
Oh, hey, this year we did.
You know, have a little picture of Spencer Strider and Acuna on the sleeve.
Nobody
that made.
cares about that
Well,
if you win the division. Get over it. I don't care if they're hurt.
No,
Celebrate
you
something.
don't care.
Celebrate
no, I
something.
want them
Yeah,
to
it's my T-shirt,
No,
John.
I want the players to celebrate it. I want them
No,
to
you
celebrate.
don't. You said
You just said you don't want them to
I don't want them
champagne
tonight. No,
toast.
I don't want it tonight. If they clinch a playoff berth, oh, well, we clinched at least being the last wild card. So you have a celebration for that?
John-
and then a celebration when you win the division? Stop it.
If you don't want to go to my birthday party, I'm still having the damn party.
Do you got bigger? Do you have one 2 days before, though?
Maybe for
Well,
somebody
say,
else.
I'm gonna be-
his
and then we have another one?
Dude, his birthday might be on a Monday, so he wants to have the party on the
Mine's
Saturday.
on a Thursday,
But then he
so
has
I'm
the
gonna have
night
the
dinner
dinner
on
and
What
I'm
Monday.
you
not
do?
going
You have
out.
one party. You have one party.
Hell no,
if
John.
if the whole thing is win the division, you have one party. You don't celebrate tonight. If we clinched it.
Let him live it.
At least being the final wild
But here's the
card.
thing, John.
It's
All right,
ridiculous.
So if they don't toast champagne in the locker room, they're going out to a bar afterward and
That's
drinking.
fine. That's
All right,
fine.
so they're still celebrating
But you know
it.
what? Hey, Sixers beat Sixers beat the Nets first round.
Come on, man. Let
Put
them
up
party.
the tarps.
Let them party. You gatekeeping their
Spray
party?
the champagne. When they win the division
Are you
over
a bouncer?
if they win the division over 162, celebrate your backsides off.
Johnny,
when
no
you're,
fun.
by the way, when you're the second or third place team, and I ripped it before, when you're a wild card team, I think it's weak sauce. I do. The
come on, man.
Phillies celebrate your division championship.
Life's short and difficult, and you should
Party,
celebrate
man.
everything you can.
I would love to see you be a bouncer.
Oh, my gosh.
I think you'd be great.
Has to
Breaking into
turn
that
people
bar
away.
every day of the week.
All right, coming up next, Pete Prisco as the Eagles at 18 on his power rankings. He explains why coming up at 8:10. Before that, today's headlines with Connor Thomas and a whole lot more. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatics.
8:03 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Today's headlines with Connor Thomas comes up in 2 minutes, and then Pete Prisco of CBS Sports will be joining us coming up at 8:10 to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who in his latest edition of the Power Rankings, he has them at 18, John. So here's what's interesting.
Okay.
They dropped 10 spots, which that's a big number. That means he only had them at 8 after week 1 when they were 1-0. So it's not like
I thought there were 10 last week.
On his, they were at 8 because they dropped 10 spots.
Okay,
so
10.
they're down to 18. And,
All right.
and he doesn't do big blurbs, so we'll get more out of him coming up at 8:10. But this is what he wrote. That was a big-time choke late by the Eagles and head coach Nick Sirianni. Why did he throw it late? Then they let Kirk Cousins go the distance in just under a minute for the game winner? They dropped 10 spots.
He has every right to have that opinion, and he had it during the offseason. He was in your boats, by the way. Pete
saying they should have moved on?
I think Pete thought they should have moved on from Sirianni. So I think he agrees with you guys.
Okay, so we'll talk to him more about that coming up at 8:10 as to why he believes they're at 18. I mean, I think maybe he's doing the power rankings more to your liking because, just for example, he's the Chiefs at number 1, Bills at 2, Texans at 3, Bucks at 4, Vikings at 5. Now, again, it depends on how you evaluate your power rankings.
It's the 2025 season. It's not the power rankings of 2024 season. It's not the power rankings
how they've played through 2
here's
weeks.
what we thought they were going to be, and they're letting us down. It's what are the power rankings right now?
Right.
And how are teams going?
Because he has the Seahawks at 7 in front of the 49ers, and I doubt he thinks that the Seahawks are a better team than the San Francisco 49ers. At least that's my
banged
guess.
up. No, I think especially banged up, too.
But I think he probably assumes that so far through 2 weeks, the Seahawks have played better, and their record would tell you that because they're 2-0. All right, we'll talk to Pete coming up at 8:10, but it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Hello.
Hey, boys, how we feeling?
Great.
Okay.
Allow me to get a little bit. I know I got mad at you for this earlier, but yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about our favorite guy, Craig Kimbrel. And I'm not sure if you guys saw the news from Baltimore.
I thought I wasn't allowed to be Tom Petty earlier this week.
Not being at this today. Craig Kimbrel, DFA'd by the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, dude.
Sent down, no good, absolutely can't get the job done, and I feel great about it.
He's been horrible. I mean,
it's been bad.
Remember early on in the season, he added that changeup, and it looked like maybe he added something to his repertoire that was going to make him good. Remember Bryson Stott struck out on it?
Oh, yeah. He came in and shut down the Phillies one game.
And then it just completely fell apart. He gave up 6 earned runs the other day. That was his last outing as a Baltimore Oriole. 6 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning.
Did you see the fix? I feel bad about this because I liked this guy when he was here. But Sir Anthony Dominguez gave up 2 walk-off home runs in a week, replacing Craig Kimbrel.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, man.
Yeah, Craig Kimbrel, look, future Hall of Famer, I'd imagine.
100% lock. Yes.
But just the way it ended.
I look at it as just like I look at it with Gosi and Mitch Williams. I look at it as the manager had absolutely no feel or no understanding to keep going to him. I look at it as more as being put in bad situations.
The shame of it last year, he actually had a good regular season.
He did have a good regular season.
Toward the end, he was clearly probably throwing a lot, and I think lost it a little bit, and then we clearly saw that in the playoffs. This year, he's just been bad.
Yep.
5.33 ERA this year.
I think he'll be on. He has a nice farm in
I think
Tennessee.
He's done.
I think he's going to be there in his farm.
I don't think many teams are going to be clamoring for Craig Kimbrel. No. Well, you can't even make a playoff roster at this point of the season, so I don't think many people are going to be clamoring for him.
No, I don't think so. This next one, you guys are going to love this one. NIL has been an interesting thing in sports in college, especially in college football, and it's changed the way that coaches talk, players talk. We've gone in a couple years from you can't say anything about bringing players in other than, hey, come play football, to this. So the Marshall head coach, Charles Huff,
Thundering Herd, man,
was talking about their matchup with Ohio State and was saying if any Ohio State players want to come to Marshall next year,
what?
They're getting unlimited biscuits.
I know where we are, but I feel good about the track we're on, and I feel good about the players we have. Would love to have some of those guys from Ohio State, too. So if they want to transfer on down, we've got a Tudor's Biscuit NIL, all you can eat. So if any of those guys that run really, really fast at Ohio State like Tudor's Biscuits, I promise you, all you can eat all day if you transfer here.
Have you ever had them?
No.
I know. I mean, I'm telling you right now.
Are they delicious?
You may want to, Connor. You'd be all
Still got
over
eligibility?
it. You'd be all over it. You've got some eligibility left.
I do.
No, you'd be all over it.
Never
I would
played
just
at
tell
OSU,
you.
though.
Very impressive.
Here's the amazing thing. I can't tell if I love NIL or not because here's the deal. The top programs will remain the top programs as long as they buy into it. Like Clemson's stupid. Dabo Swinney's dumb. The top programs have money. Right, like
they don't pay it. They get advertised.
They get advertised, so they have the money to continue to get top talent. So that's not, like it's not like Alabama was going to all of a sudden start struggling because of NIL money. But it benefits some smaller schools if somebody does love biscuits that much that they want to go to Marshall. But then it also kills some schools like the Temple Owls.
It does.
Who don't believe in it.
No, they don't. They don't believe in it. They don't have the money to be. They don't have the companies and everything like that, and a program to get it behind it.
I've had some conversations. It's sad.
Well, whatever the case, I mean, if you can leave Ohio State and go to Marshall for biscuits, you kind of got to do it, right?
But bottom line is, if you're a kid, right, and you're trying to get to the NFL, are you going to Marshall or are you going to Alabama? Or Ohio State.
Well, if you're a guy who's like the fourth wide receiver and you're like, maybe I won't get drafted and I could use some biscuits, I'm pretty hungry right now.
Connor, you'd wolf these babies. What I'm telling you is the perfect level of crispiness with butter.
You're selling me.
Like the buttery biscuit that it sort of has a little bit of that butter greasiness feel to it.
Yeah.
But it's crunchy enough. It's still crunchy enough, and oh my God!
Well, Coach Huff down there at Marshall, 610-632-0975. You have my number.
Coach Huff, if you don't have a Wendy's near you, that would be what you'd want to do. How many Huffs can we have on the show, too? By the way,
yeah, we got way too many Huffs.
Coach Huff, Bryce Huff.
By the way, I could go for some food right
Josh
now.
Huff.
I could go for some food right
now. Yeah, we're gonna have some food.
All right, so we're gonna be joined momentarily by Pete Prisco of CBS, and he does a tremendous job covering the NFL. But man. He has the Eagles on his power rankings, and he straight up said that the Eagles choked away that game, which is correct. They choked away that game. There's no way they should have lost that football game, and a couple of bad decisions made by, in our opinion, because there are people that agree with what Nick Sirianni and the Eagles did. But in our opinion, he made bad decisions, which cost them the game.
The one thing I absolutely love about Prisco is that Pete is a guy, and I've known him a long, long time from the South. Mm-hmm. He is a guy who absolutely will defend. Connor, he has similar DNA. He will defend his stance, and he will be on that mountain. It'll be like a scene out of Gladiator.
Damn right. Well, let's go to him right now on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. From CBS Sports, does a tremendous job and has been doing it for a long time covering the NFL. Pete Prisco joins us. Pete, good morning. How you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
What's up, Pete?
We could be better if the Eagles didn't, make some horrible decisions at the end of a game, which led to them going 1-1 instead of 2-0. And you have them falling to 18 in your power rankings. What have you seen out of the Eagles so far through 2 weeks that bring you to drop them that low, in your opinion?
Let me first say I'm glad that John's doing a lot better with his health.
Thank you, brother.
Glad about that, John.
Much appreciated, man.
Yeah, so he's always thinking about you, hoping you do better and better every day. So
I'm getting there.
On your progress. Yeah,
thank you, buddy.
Awesome. Back to the Eagles. You remember they used to say greed is good? Well, greed was bad the other night. That was stupid. I mean, I'll just put it out there. I thought it was a dumb decision to throw the football in that scenario. Worst case scenario, if you run it twice, is you got them 50-something seconds and the ball at the 8-yard line. That's the worst case scenario. I thought it was a bad decision. I would have run it twice and then dealt with it from there. As far as the Eagles as a whole, the number that stands out to me, 6.4. It's all you got to do. 6.4. They are getting gashed in the run. And if you continue to play that kind of defense, you're not winning a lot of football games. It's just incredible to me that they can't stop the run. Nothing. And they have all those bodies. They put a lot of assets in the defensive line, and they haven't been able to stop the run. So that's why I'm down. The other part of that is despite the fact the offensive line is one of the best in the NFL, Jalen Hurts turned the ball over. And, what's he got, 3 interceptions and 3 touchdown passes? He's got plenty of time to stand back there. It just hasn't been in a rhythm. Now, not having A.J. Brown last week hurt them, but I'm worried about this team in a big way.
Pete, he's got the most turnovers in the NFL since the beginning of last season of any quarterback. And to me, I can't fathom it with all this talent surrounding him, including that offensive line, including all the weapons. That is something he really has got to clean up.
And he has from snap to throw, he's the most time of anybody in the league, and that's the weird thing about it. And he does have good receivers when A.J. Brown's on the field, and a good tight end, and it doesn't, and a good back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. It doesn't make any sense, and so that is concerning. He's got to clean that up, and they're too good an offensive line and too good an offense for him not to be able to move the football consistently and not turn it over. So you look at both sides of the ball, and there are major concerns on both sides of the ball. Here's the other part of it. They went out and spent money on Huff. The best defensive lineman on that team right now is the old guy.
Oh, my gosh.
Graham has played. Yeah, and Graham has been the best of all of them.
And the second best has been this guy named Thomas Booker, who I think was an undrafted free agent. I mean, it's horrible.
It's crazy. You have that Jordan Davis right now. I mean, everybody, look, and I'm guilty. I thought he would develop into a solid player. Hasn't. Jaylen Carter still flashes superstar potential, inconsistent. They run, you run the edges. They can't handle that. They're not good run players. But, that was the knock on Huff. He was a situational player with the Jets. He could rush the passer in situations, but he wasn't able to hold up against the run. And their linebackers aren't, Dean, they hit the ball on. I mean, they turned into a pretty good player, but Dean's tiny too. So you get bodies on him, it's going to be a problem. It's a major issue when you're giving up that type of run yardage in 2 games. Now, can they fix it? We'll see. Vic Fangio's usually pretty good, but we'll see.
I was about to ask you, can they correct it and how? But let's focus on the offensive side of things. It seems like Nick Sirianni is a lot more involved than what we thought he would be. All off season, he told us that Kellen Moore was basically running the show. We found that out pretty quickly that might not be the case. Is there a way to correct things offensively with Jalen Hurts and with this offense where that's supposed to be the strength of this team?
Well, I thought they got away from Barkley the other night a little bit. I mean, they were running the ball pretty well too,
they had to throw to Britton Covey. They had to focus the offense on Britton Covey.
I don't get it. I mean, he got away from. I would have pounded that guy until the Falcons stopped it, and they weren't going to stop it. So I thought the plan was pretty bad at times the other night, And look, when a head coach gets rid of both of his offensive and defensive coordinator in the same season and brings 2 guys in, that usually tells you he knows there's a problem, A. The problem is probably going to be people are going to be pointing the fingers at him. So what does he do? You get rid of those guys, and now you put it on somebody else and say, hey, it wasn't me, it was them. And so that's an easy way of coaches trying to, put their head above the water when it's rising to drown them. So I think he's got to get this thing turned around. This is a big year. It's amazing, though. Think about this. And you guys know, what is it, 20 months ago that they were in the Super Bowl? How many months?
February of 23.
And here we are talking about job security with Nick Sirianni, who a year ago, midway through the season, had the best team in the league. And yet that's the way it is nowadays in the NFL. If you don't win, they come after you, and they will come after him if they don't get this thing turned around.
Now, Pete, Pete Prisco, CBS Sports, joining us on Kincade and Salciunas. When you look at all the money that these NFL teams now are pouring into these analytics departments, and then you go and make a decision to say, we don't care about the 40 seconds we could bleed off the clock here. I mean, at some point, has analytics helped? It helped baseball in many ways to lose its way. Is it helping football to lose its way?
Well, here's the problem with analytics, and God, if you say it on Twitter, you get the analytics cults come after you and everything. Here's
caveman, old man yelling at clouds. Yeah, I know.
Right. And here's the problem with analytics, and I've put this out there a couple of different ways. If the ball's inside the 2-yard line, what's it say on the stat sheet? If you're going to the goal line, inside the 2-yard line,
it
says 4th and 1.
Right.
So the data's all done with 4th and 1 yard. If the ball's just outside the goal line, what's it say on the stat sheet?
4th and 1. 4th and goal.
Of course. It's not this. Take it away from the goal line, but put it out in the middle of the field. Do the same thing. It's not the same play. And yet, by the stat data, by the data that they accumulate, it's all done by yards. There's no inch analytics yet. They haven't done that yet. So you can't. That's one problem. The other problem is, how about game feel? Does that matter? Game feel. If you're in a 45-42 game and you haven't stopped them the entire game, and you got a 4th and 4 in your own end, okay, go for it. We get it. You haven't stopped. If it's 10-7 and it's a defensive slugfest, does the chart tell you to do the same thing then? They don't take into account all that, and that matters. And so I think analytics has been, they're good to have. It's good to look at. It's good to reference. But sometimes you just have to really realize where you are in a football game. I'll give you another example. I'm going to go to the Lions the other day. That moron faked the punt in his own end I think it was at the 17-yard line.
Yes.
What's your end game? You get the first down. You still need 30 yards to even get in the field goal range to get points. Your end game with that. It's not worth. If you're on their end and you fake that punt, you get in the scoring range. I get it. What's your end game by faking that punt deep in your own end? There's no redeeming value in that at all. And it turns out he had to go for another 4th down. Then ultimately he got to a 4th and 6 and decided, well, maybe I don't need to go for this one. And so I just think they don't think it out loud like they normally should. Sure, there's numbers, there's data, but you have to also have a feel for the game.
I'm curious, Pete. We're speaking to Pete Prisco from CBS on the Comcast Business Hotline. You mentioned Jalen Hurts and how he's a little concerning for you. What's your opinion on Jalen Hurts? And I'm not asking for quarterback rankings. Like, think back to your list during the summer and where you put him. Is he a top-tier quarterback, or is he kind of a guy out there that you just hope he doesn't make too many mistakes because of all the weapons around him?
No, I think he's in between that. I think he's in between that. Look, you have the win with and the win because of. He's not a win because of. He's not that. There's only a certain amount of those guys out there, and quite frankly, most of the NFL quarterbacks are playing poorly right now. It's bad, but he's not that. He's in between. He can make magical plays. He can really dynamic throws, and then, like you said, he can turn the ball over, and he looks inconsistent. And so I think there's too much inconsistency there. Look, the Super Bowl year, he was fantastic, and everybody kind of rushed him up the ranking tree a little bit, and it leveled out last year. And now this is a big year for him and for that offense to prove that they can get it back to where it was. Sometimes he looks fantastic, other times he looks awful, or not awful, but not good. And I think that's where the maddening part of it is for Eagle fans. I bet the inconsistency must drive the Eagle fans crazy.
Oh, no, we're very patient people, Pete. You've known me a long time.
I used to live in King of Prussia. I know all about impatience.
Ask you this, just quick question. What's more likely? The Eagles right now, this iteration, will end up a 12-win team or an 8-win team?
More likely an 8-win team.
Oh, jeez.
Scary as hell.
You do not stop the run. I mean, I don't care. That is a damning thing for a team. A damning thing. It's demoralizing. Your offense doesn't get to get into a rhythm. You're not on the field. 6.4 per, what was it, 7 point something the first game? It was 6.4 per rush.
Brutal.
That number, it's the worst in the league. I mean, it's not even, it's three tenths of a yard away from being, from the next one. That's how bad it is. They're terrible right now. If they don't stop the run, they're not going to win a lot of football games.
Pete, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Are the Philly fans really mad at me for where I put them? I mean,
we're curious to get your input on.
No, I think no. There were some people who were offended that it was 18 yesterday.
Oh, okay.
That you were 18.
Yeah, but you know what?
But I'm more offended at the power rankings that have them at 6 after the first 2 weeks. I think there should be a drug test.
By the way, you know what? I know Philly fans, and when we grew up there, we were Giant fans when I lived outside there, so I know how they are. My first game ever was at Franklin Field. Philly fans are fantastic, and they're also the most obnoxious in the history of football.
Damn right, man. That's why people love us. Pete, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again down the road.
Thanks,
Take care, guys.
There he is, Pete Prisco from CBS on the Comcast Business Hotline. Coming up next, Derek Gunn joins us. So we go from the national perspective to the local perspective.
I want to hear how much they parallel each other.
It would
how
be
much
interesting.
They're different.
Oh, by the way, the rushing defense that he's been talking about and how bad it is. At 9:30, I'm going to give you a stat from Reuben Frank. Oh, it's the history.
Holy I did not know that.
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
8:30 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this beautiful Thursday morning. So another Wendy's gift card to give away at some point this segment, but we got stuff to take care of right now on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. I love this man. He does a tremendous job all over the place covering the Eagles. Of course, he's got the new show on Parks as well, which we've been talking about. Our 7 a.m. sponsor is the Parks.
Go see him at Parks Casino.
So he does a tremendous job with that. He does a tremendous job no matter who he's working for, and that, of course, the great Derek Gunn. D-Gunn, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
You sound upbeat.
Yeah, you sound
like
upbeat.
that.
You know why? Because he's a journalist, and he's not beaten down like I am after that loss on Monday. Derek, I need to get your opinion on the biggest talking point before we get to everything else. On the 3rd and 3 decision to pass and then the 4th down decision to kick the field goal, what was going through your mind when it was happening?
The 3rd and 3 decision, I don't have a problem with. If Saquon catches the ball, good night, game over. Mm-hmm. Now, the other factor is run the ball, a dive play in the middle. Even if you don't get the first down, keep the clock running. Atlanta has no timeout. You take another 40 seconds off the clock. They have like 20-something seconds to get down the field. That's not going to happen in that amount of time. But because it didn't work, it has been magnified all week long and will continue to be magnified up until they play the Saints on Sunday. But I don't have a problem with the call. Atlanta was stuff in the middle of the field. He had an 8-man front. Saquon wide open out in the flats. But over the last 3 years, which running back has had more drops than any other running back in the National Football League? Saquon Barkley.
Derek, what do you think over on the other sideline? What do you think the Falcons were hoping that the Eagles would call on that play? They would hope that they would have tried to throw it, though. You played into your opponent's hands, and if you have this big analytics department, why would you reject taking 40 seconds off the clock? It doesn't make sense to me.
I agree with you 100%. You look, we've applauded Nick since he's been here for being aggressive in situations like that, and more times than not, they've worked. 9 times out of 10, Saquon, snags that ball. Good night, game over. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in this scenario, and so here we sit. And instead of this team being 2-0, they're 1-1. You can argue both sides of the coin what they should have done, but the bottom line is the play was there. The play was there. They sucked Atlanta in. Saquon's out in the flats wide open. If he makes that play, we're sitting here applauding him for the last 4 days. Brilliant call. Unfortunately, it backfired on him.
I'm curious because I know how tied in you are with that team. Fans, radio hosts, we talk about the play and how it didn't work out, and and we're upset about it, and we talk about how important Sunday is because if they lose, they're 1-2, and can there be issues coming back from last year? What were the players like after the loss? Were they saying some of the things that we're saying, or are they saying, "Dan, we missed an opportunity. We'll be back at it Sunday"?
The latter. We missed an opportunity. The Eagles gave them the game, basically.
They did.
And here it is. We're 2 games into a season. There's a lot of football to be played. This team is still the favorite to win that division. Mm-hmm. If A.J. Brown had played Monday night, Atlanta doesn't win that game, period. Hands down. There's no way Atlanta wins that game. They have a good secondary, but not good enough to match up with both A.J. and Devontae. Okay? So, they're right there. You look at where they are in the division, they're right there with 15 games left to play. A.J. is not going to be back this Sunday. Hopefully he's back next week in Tampa because they're going to really need him in Tampa because Todd Bowles does a tremendous job playing against Jalen Hurts. But, everybody is dinged up at this point. You got to do what you got to do. And even with that said, they had the opportunity without A.J. to put the Falcons away, and they made too many mistakes. So Nick Sirianni has to sit behind closed doors, him and Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, and scour over what didn't happen on Monday night and make sure those same things don't happen on a short week down in New Orleans where that team is playing explosive football right now.
Derek, I know for a fact that there are guys in that locker room that would say things to you that they wouldn't say to many of us. How do you believe Nick Sirianni is received? And Are you believing that when Bill Belichick is sort of circling the building in like a vulture, that there's an extra pressure on him knowing that?
The players still have a lot of respect for Nick. Make no mistake about it. They still have a lot of respect for Nick. It's too early for players to be grumbling and trying to single anybody or anything out right now. If it was in the latter part of the season, if it had cost them the division title, it cost them a playoff spot, I guarantee you'd hear a lot more grumbling. But right now, they know they're still right there. Nick knows he made some mistakes. And no coach is perfect. You go back to last season, you look at Dan Campbell in the playoffs for Detroit. Should have taken the 3 points, cost them a playoff game. They know. They all know. No matter how many times you've been around the block, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. It happens. But those guys still believe in Nick Sirianni. Trust me on that.
Derek, my biggest concern going into this season, and I had that it was a 12-win team, but my biggest concern going into the season was the front four, the starters of the front four, and also the depth at the front four. Through 2 weeks, my nightmares have come reality. Can Vic Fangio fix this, in your opinion?
That's a huge question mark because the personnel is not going to change much. If it continues to go the course it's going, especially in the run defense, I guarantee you Howie's out there scouring the countryside trying to find some plug-and-play type players, especially in the trenches. But, Linval Joseph is not walking through that door.
Dude, I'm not joking, Gunner. I looked up free agents the other day.
He did.
I did it on the air. I was like, I have to. Yannick Ngakoue, what are you doing these days? It's bad. That's how bad it is.
I did the same thing. I said, let me see who's out there available. And nothing out there really is appealing right now. When you think about it, anybody who's anybody is attached to someone else's team right now. So he's going to have to weather this storm with what he has. Can it get better? Yes. I'm not so sure it will get better. When your $51 million guy plays, 52% of the snaps on Monday night and doesn't show up in the stat sheet, that's a problem. When your 36-year-old edge rusher, and Brandon Graham, is your best pressure edge rusher as of right now, that's a problem.
And you're not just saying that because of your relationship with him. That guy literally has been your best pass rusher so far.
He's been your best pressure guy through 2 games. That's the problem. He was supposed to be on a limited snap count, to be honest with you, 10, 15 plays a game. He played 42% of the snaps, I believe, the first game, and he played 46% of the snaps. No, correction. He played 47% the first game, 46% this game. He wasn't supposed to play that much, but they're calling in everybody. They're calling in the Cavalry. Man, to help this defense.
They're going to be calling you in soon.
No, he's got to be at Parks.
I'd have to bulk up by at least 150 pounds before I even that.
All right, one last thing. We asked Pete Prisco this question. I'm going to ask you. Right now, based on just the 2 games of knowledge that you know about and the personnel, do you believe it's more likely this team ends a 12-win team or an 8-win team?
Oh, come on, man. There's such a disparity between
It is.
12,
but what's more likely, a 12 or an 8? If I told you right now they're either going to end an 8-win team or a 12-win team, which one would you lay your money on? You're up at Parks. You walk up in that beautiful casino.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. You said 12 or 8. That's 20. I'm going to say 10. Can I split the difference and say 10?
Okay.
Are you running for office?
I'm telling
you. In November? That's
there you go.
That's impressive work, Deke. I'd vote for you.
Hey. There he is.
Are those commercials airing for you? My God.
There you go.
Listen, Gunner.
I wish they were. I'd rather
too.
watch Derek Gunn commercials.
Derek, we appreciate it as always, man. Keep up the great work, and I know we'll be bugging you again down the road.
Hey, man, anytime for you guys. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, buddy.
You too. There he is, Derek Gunn, one of my favorite people in this city, man.
And
He's
the people at Parks love Derek Gunn, and if you're out at Parks Casino, you can go watch him.
Yep. What's not to love, man? He's a great dude, very well connected, and he said everyone still respects Nick Sirianni.
I guarantee you he's very well respected in that room.
Absolutely. All right, coming up next, we check out the text line. And speaking of Jaylen Carter and the run defense, Tim McManus on the best show ever yesterday said it's time for Jaylen Carter to step up. And I agree, but I also told you to slow down. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider
850 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Give us a number, Johnny.
How about I'm going to go off the board here.
Whoa.
Caller 0 for. No, yes, Mr. Huff can't get
Bryce
that one.
Huff.
I'm going to go 7.
That's what I figured. Caller 7. And how about at 850? We give away a $50 Wendy's gift card. How about that?
Hey-o.
Caller number 7 on the contest line, 215-263-0975 will win our third of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack. 45-ish nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm buffalo, or ghost pepper, open till midnight or later. Participating locations only. All right, so Tim McManus was on with the best show ever yesterday, and he talked about Jaylen Carter. Take a listen to what he had to say.
For Carter, I mean, I don't really want to build in excuses for him. That was another big key coming into the year. It was like Carter has to match the potential that he shows. We've seen it in bursts, like the way that he started out the season last year, my God. And even in the preseason where he's just like pancaking all pro guards, and you're like, this guy has just massive talent to take over games, be a game wrecker, and be the engine of this defense. We haven't seen it through 2 games. Now, small sample size, but lack of consistency has kind of been, part of his history. Back in college, he ran sort of hot and cold, was obviously a dominant player, probably the most talented player to come out of that draft. We see it in little bursts, but it's got to be there more consistently for this defense to match its potential. So I don't want to, you're right. Like, yeah, there's going to be more focus on Carter, but screw that. Like, he's got to do his job.
I love that.
I can't. If anyone argues with that, if anyone argues with what was just put out there,
screw that. He's got to do his job.
Right. Enough of this. Take the freaking training wheels off.
Yeah.
And I'm a big supporter of these guys that came out of Georgia. Love the program. Watch them from high school through college.
Mm-hmm.
BS. Take the training wheels off now. This is the real big time. And I think Jordan Davis is the one that I'm a lot more frustrated with.
Yeah, because he's
right now.
Kind of got.
I'm expecting him to take a completely different trajectory this year.
And remember,
it's a slow start this year.
Even if he doesn't rush the passer well, he's supposed to clog up the running lanes, which is supposed to help out their rush defense, and their rush defense is horrible this year. Historically bad, which I'll tell you more about later on the show. When I hear that from Tim McManus, I completely agree. Screw that, and you're in agreement. Like, let's go. It's time to step up. I don't care that you're year 2, but this is why
it's time.
I was not on board with saying, well, he could be Aaron Donald. And we had that conversation a couple times this offseason. Aaron Donald is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Right?
I don't think there's any argument.
Is one of the greatest of all time at his position. I kind of got the heebie-jeebies when we would talk about Jaylen Carter as potentially the next Aaron Donald. I need to see it first.
Oh, yeah, you have to see it first.
He's going to be talented. Don't get me wrong. I think Jaylen Carter is still going to be one of the better players at his position, even when this season is done with, right? I don't think what we've seen out of 2 weeks is who he is. But the Aaron Donald stuff, sometimes we got to slow down. People did it with Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes 2 years ago. Like, we got to slow down.
But I think, though, that you got to put the proper context on, though. The context was that he had a more impactful rookie year than Aaron Donald had.
Okay.
And I think that if anybody said, I didn't hear anybody saying he's better than Aaron Donald.
No, nobody said that.
Look, he had a more impactful rookie year.
People would say he could be and all that kind of stuff.
He could be.
He could still be.
And he might end up being. Absolutely.
Sometimes I just, I do sometimes, not that I necessarily care about the feelings all the time. I think it's sometimes unfair to the player. I thought it was unfair when people would put Hurts and Mahomes in the same class. That's unfair to Jalen Hurts. Because he's not Patrick Mahomes, right? I think it was unfair to do that with Jaylen Carter early on, even though, to Tim McManus' point, he does have to step it up.
I think when people were, when we started this show and people said, John, you're going to be working with the next Dan Patrick. I said, I think that's a little too much pressure on Andrew. All
I know is Dan Patrick probably wants to be me, John. Just kidding. He's a legend. And I wish I was friends with Adam Sandler like he is. All right, coming up next, Kevin Nagandi joins us. And then after Kevin, something I want gone from the Eagles offense. Or at least limited. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. back with the best show ever. So a major FanFest announcement. Don't forget FanFest coming on Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. But we have a major announcement coming up at 5 o'clock today. And also our deal of the week. Check it out on 975thefanatic.com. The 2 adult combo tickets. Bates Motel for the price of one. So 2 tickets for $52. Prepare for Halloween thrills at the Bates Motel, one of the most frightening haunted attractions in the country, located in Glen Mills, PA. I heard one of the exhibits there is Nick Sirianni's chart.
Play calling?
Yeah, that's one of the horror parts.
Oh, I guarantee you.
You know, it's
scary. And you know what they have? It's really good this year at the Bates Motel. They now have a whole nother wing. You go over on the side. They have Howie Roseman on draft night. They also have that.
So you can get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals.
They even have Kevin Long, teaching people how to have a great approach at the plate. That's another one of them. It's very scary.
But don't worry. You know how, like, if you're afraid there's an exit strategy? They have a Bryce Huff jersey, and you just walk right past that, and that's it.
It doesn't keep you from getting out anywhere.
All right.
Okay, this could go on for a while. Hey,
let's go to the Comcast Business Hotline.
By the way, it's really a great place.
Or every day in business, a big day like Comcast Business helping move forward. What's next from ESPN? The great Kevin Agani joins us. Kevin, was that a little too harsh?
That's well played. Yeah.
Some things you don't even plan out, and it just flows.
Yeah. But only in Philadelphia can the hitting coach get vilified while the team has the number one.
Well,
yep, absolutely. Thank you, Kevin.
Let's put it this way, Kevin. Their approach at the plate. Don't spin this to me here. They could go up there with boat paddles some
I didn't hear about approaches when they were winning.
Yes, you did.
I hear about approaches.
You did.
John, I do side with the approach at the plate. It can be very maddening, and it could be detrimental in the playoffs.
And in the last 2 years, has it been?
Yeah, it has been.
Yep.
When the bats all go quiet. So it is just funny with the context. Kevin Long catching strays, just minding his business.
We're talking about the Bates Motel, and Kevin Long's like, "Oh, I want to go to this thing," and now he says, "You know what? Now I don't want to because I just got made fun of." Kevin,
well, that's a swing and a miss on his part.
Monday Night Football was on. This guy's on fire. Monday Night Football was on your network, the beautiful network of ESPN, and unfortunately, we watched an Eagles loss on it. Would love to get your reaction to what took place Monday night at Lincoln Financial Field.
They could have escaped with a win while, we had flashes of Jalen Hurts looking like 2022 Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to run and scramble and the burst that he had, and he ran with authority, and you could tell he wasn't thinking out there, which is a great thing. There was, at one point I was like, dude, you got to watch your shoulder. This is like the Bears game all over again. But he had to move the offense down the field. It is wild that when A.J. Brown's out, where's the explosiveness? But what happened to Jahan Dotson? You send a third-round pick, and I don't know if anybody thought Covey was going to have the game that he was going to have, where at least targeted. He didn't have a lot of yards, but he was targeted a lot. There is concern. You can... That third down decision still, like, what are we doing? Just run the football. The play call was okay. It looked like it worked, but in the end, if you're trying to eliminate all the possibilities of a disaster and then put them back at the end zone and time off the clock, you've got to do that. And another storyline, it all comes in, and they're all tied together here specifically. If you're not getting a pass rush, like they didn't have all night, and that is, I think, the most frightening tale of this, that front four can't stop the run and cannot apply pressure on a statue of a quarterback. It could be a very long season. That is the concern. They'll score points, but again, like if you have a quarterback that could just even slide a little bit more than Kirk Cousins, you could be in a lot of trouble. And this defensive front did absolutely nothing. I don't understand on the final drive how you don't send a blitzer, because you got to move them a little bit. And it was a disaster.
You know what? And I'm glad that you brought up the third down play call, and then you almost in the same breath brought up the pass rush. We talk about feel and having a feel for it and all that kind of stuff. And Nick Sirianni said, "Oh well, the Falcons were going to clog up the line, so that's why we thought it'd be good to throw the football." you don't have a pass rush, so you gave Kirk Cousins, a guy who just stood tall like a statue because he didn't have to move, more time to go downfield. Yeah. That's part of the field. That's part of what analytics doesn't tell you, right? The analytics doesn't tell you my pass rush sucks today and sucked in week 1, and we're not going to get to Kirk Cousins. So if we give him more time, that means he has more time to not get touched on his way downfield.
And what's the identity of this football team? And we saw it multiple times in the first 2 games. It is the strength and how big this offensive line is, right? It wasn't like 3rd and 6. So if you can get a yard or 2, then you find your way into the tush push. And they were running that successfully.
Oh, yeah.
All along. So I just don't understand. I know the Eagles are very heavy in analytics. Very heavy in analytics. And that's above Nick. But I just don't understand where's the consistency of, okay, if you're going to go with analytics, then what happened in the first quarter, then what happened later in the game where you decide not to go for it, and then you go for it. There's a wishy-washy here that we don't understand that I can't wrap my head around here. And the other thing is, here, when you to understand this too a little bit too, when you put a team in a position that they're down by 3. Okay, let's just say if they got stopped at the 2-yard line, now the Falcons have to go. The Falcons are no longer thinking about winning the game. They're thinking about tying the game. So Kirk Cousins' mentality, I need to score a touchdown. I just need to send this into overtime. The minute you kick that field goal, it's now a 6-point game. So the Falcons are thinking, we have to win this game. It's all or nothing. I've got to go 70 yards. And it changes the entire offensive approach. So let's just say they didn't go for the field goal, and they just went twice on running the football, taking time off the clock. Now you have a less than a minute to go, and Kirk Cousins' mentality is, let's just try to kick a field goal and let's get into overtime. And it changes every single thing, the entire approach the rest of the way. And, Teddy Bruschi sent me a tweet after, the whole Manning-Belichick conversation on the Manning cast on Monday night. And I had some feedback and interest on putting that out there on my account Tuesday morning. But Teddy Bruschi said, perfect play call versus common sense. You could have the perfect play call, but in the end, you've got to go with common sense. Common sense is, let's take time off the clock. Let's use the strength of the team, and that is the offensive line, and it's 3rd and short.
Here's another one for you, though. Let's take you back to the first quarter. Passing on the first possession, you don't score. You punt it away. Your defense comes up with a stop. Your defense, which needs confidence. Instead of giving them a lead on the second possession, you decide to go for it on a 4th and 4. Again, you pass on points. If you want to do analytics in the modern day NFL since 2000, teams that score first win 60% of the time.
Yeah.
So there's analytics for you. Score first. You're going to win 6 out of 10 times.
John, to your point, this is not a Packers team where you've got to score, you got to get a touchdown every time you're down there.
Right.
This is a Falcons team that struggled against the Steelers, granted because T.J. Watt is one of the best players on the planet. But, that's the one thing. Get points because the Falcons can't score. We saw that. Even when we're not applying a lot of – they can't score. That they're still trying to figure things out. They have a new play caller, and Kirk Cousins is a statue. So I don't understand it at all, the whole approach that Sirianni has. And if he is there specifically, because clearly he's not calling the offense, clearly he's not on the defensive side, he's there for his decisions, then where's the difference maker? If Nick Sirianni's your head coach, where does he make you better? And instead, he didn't make them better that night. And on a night where they needed to get a win because they're on the road against the Saints and the Bucs the next 2 weeks. And another concern I got, guys, I had somebody ask me heading into the game, they're like, how do you feel about tonight? And I said to him, my buddy, who's not an Eagles fan, I said, I don't have any feel because I don't know what the heck we're getting with this team after last year's collapse. They have to show us because we have no feel on this team after we felt pretty good the first 11 weeks of the season, then the collapse that was unexplainable, right? Because it wasn't about talent. It was about a lot of other things that you can't actually find on a chart or in a box score. And that's still lingering, guys. Like, I can't get a feel for this team because how does that defensive front not apply any pressure? They're clearly not on the same page. They're clearly not playing their specific roles. And that is sometimes, it's not for, individuals. It's four guys working as a unit. And if you look at Sweat's comments after the game, they're not working together. They're as a unit in that front four. It feels like there's a lot of individual play right now.
That's what he said last year, too. Now, maybe it's a Josh Sweat problem at this point. He said the exact same thing.
But Kev, you know what, though? I'm tired of hearing from Josh Sweat on stuff.
Yeah, how about you make a play?
He disappears for 8-9 games every single season of his career. And you know what? You're one of the veterans. Then you step up. You make something happen.
I agree. But, John, you know what it is? What I'm okay with, though? At least John's being upfront and honest and not saying,
I got you.
Figure it out.
I got you.
To that point, like, he's calling out his teammates, and he also called himself out. Somebody's got to the panic that I had last year is when you have veterans like Kelsey, Cox, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson in that locker room. You're waiting for somebody, and maybe we're saying it from what I hear they were, and it was falling on deaf ears. Where is the leadership taking over in the locker room? But also, where is the accountability from the head coach on down to everybody else? Are they just tuning the guy out? Like, are they just, hey, we're going to just do our thing? I know Jalen Hurts had some words to say to the team after the game. I'm not sure what responsibility, but Jalen also, we had a chance to win that game at the end.
Yep.
There's no need to force that ball to Devontae Smith. All you need is 14 to 15 yards for Jake Elliott to kick the field goal, and it was Seattle all over again.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts, because he played well for the majority of the game, and Kevin, we were looking for that. We were looking for Jalen Hurts to kind of show flashes of 2022. I mean, we have done it. We've kind of left him off the hook too.
No, I think
honestly we've let him off the hook.
No, I said it when I watched the 15-minute game the day after on the replay, and then the all 22 video of it. That was a horrible throw at the end of the game, and it was completely unnecessary. They only needed 17 yards minimum to put Jake Elliott in a chance.
Devontae covers. He brings the safety over to him, so he's got two guys on him, and the underneath route with Covey was open. Like, literally, he was open because he's drawing two guys on that pass play with Devontae Smith. Here's the reason why, and I get what you're saying, Chunas, on Jalen Hurts, maybe getting a pass. He played really well.
Oh, he did play well. I'm just saying that interception, I mean.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Big.
They're in the game because of Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Because if you look at all the people to point the finger, it's not just one guy. It's collective. There's a lot of things. But on that list, Jalen Hurts is, in my mind, the top four of all the issues.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So we're going to need a lot of Jalen Hurts to play like Jalen Hurts did on Monday night. It's just, to me, the frustrating part is Kirk Cousins, in the end, didn't look that great, didn't play that great, and in the end was given the ability to go 70 yards because I cannot. I understand Quinton Mitchell is a rookie. I can't understand how it wasn't emphasized or just not, brought upon everybody. Do not let them go out of bounds. They have no bounds. And it happened on 4 routes where everybody went out of bounds or found a way to get to the space where they can go out of bounds. And that just blew me away because guess what? Kirk Cousins had all the time in the world with no pressure.
Kevin, last thing before we let you go. I've asked a couple people this question. And again, I need it to be clear when I ask it. I'm not talking win-loss record. How important is Sunday for this Eagles team?
I think it's massive because the final 2 minutes of that game gave us all PTSD of what the experience was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that team has it as well. So going on the road, they've got to figure out you're not going to win games if your front four is doing literally nothing and an offense can sit there and run the football at any time and throw the football at any time with no pressure whatsoever. I think it's really going to come down to what do you have, Vic Fangio? What do you have? Are you making adjustments? Are you going to still be stubborn? Are we going to actually help the front four if they're not getting pressure? Are you making in-game adjustments? I still can't believe that in the second half there were no real in-game adjustments that our front four is not applying pressure. We've got to send in some guys. That's my thing. And I don't we don't talk about him, but like Avonte Maddox got to figure something out, man, because he is getting crushed these first 2 games.
I've already figured it out. I don't know how they haven't.
These second and third type of receivers are having field days against the Eagles, and when you look at what the Bucks bring the Saints bring offensively, it could be really bad, and it could be bad the next week because the Bucks have a handful of weapons at wide receiver. So I don't want to say the season's on the line, but we've got to show some life here and conviction here, and this team's got to play like a team.
Kevin, you're the man. We
Thanks,
appreciate it
Kev.
as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
Fellas, be good. Take care.
There he is, Kevin Nandi from ESPN on the Comcast Business Hotline. All right, so I want to play something for you, and it's something that I might need to be taken out of the offense.
Okay.
And I don't think it's necessarily the Eagles' fault. So take a listen. Here's Jalen Hurts. He spoke to, obviously, we've reacted to a lot of what Nick Sirianni is saying. We'll get back to our text messages and calls about Sirianni at 610-632-0975. Jalen Hurts had a hell of a game on Monday night. But there were a lot of plays that got called back because of the illegal formation or the illegal man downfield penalty. Take a listen to what Jalen Hurts had to say.
It's been a little different over the years. Seems like it's been more aggressively called, especially in that game. And so it's just something that we have to do a really good job of and how we execute it and, kind of how we prepare for those situations so we can take ourselves out of those positions.
So here's the problem. We got to try to work on it to find out ways. I don't know if you can. And if you listen to Troy, well, no, because it's a hard gig for the offensive line. If you listen to Troy Aikman during the broadcast, and he's not the first one to mention this, every broadcast last year said it too, because the Eagles got flagged for this illegal man downfield all the time. The RPO, if it's not going fast enough, if it's not developing quick enough, you don't know what's going on behind you. And I know it's a good weapon to have because of Hurts' legs, Barkley's ability to run, and then the weapons that you have to throw to. I understand it's a good weapon to have, but if you're an offensive lineman and you move 1 yard too far up front because you think it's a handoff, because you don't know what's going on behind you, you're flagged 5 yards. It happened 3-4 times last week. They have to rethink using it as often as they do.
Correct. But you also need your players at some point to understand what's going on. And people,
but if you're because it could be a run play,
okay,
and it ends up being a pass play, and now you're penalized for it. If they don't get the good push up front, and then Saquon gets tackled or Hurts gets tackled when they keep it, we criticize the offensive lineman for pushing. Like it's a hard job to be in.
No. We criticize the offensive lineman for getting called for that. Where the Eagles, I think I saw yesterday, I don't know if it's NBC Sports Philadelphia or someone, they're getting called at like a 20-something% more rate than the next team.
Well, they also run. I don't know how much more they run it than other teams, but they do run it a lot.
Could be, but at some point, come on, guys, clean it up.
But it just seems like every drive almost.
No, they do it all the time.
Penalty.
And but that's undisciplined.
I don't know that's totally fair to call it undisciplined.
Yeah,
I think part of it comes from that, but I think part
awareness?
of that... It's so tough. It's almost like an impossible play to execute consistently.
That's fair.
And the idea at this level with this offense, with Kellen Moore calling the plays, or Nick Sirianni, who's ever doing it, you should be able to have plays in the playbook where you can execute it more consistently than they do this. And I think it's just the rule. Part of it maybe Hurts' decision making too. Like maybe he needs to make quicker decisions to throw the football if he's going to do that.
But if he's struggling at it, and this is now year 4 of it, because it's not like they didn't do it with Steichen.
Okay, here's where I'm stealing. Here's where I stole it from. The under Nick Sirianni, since Nick Sirianni's been here, the Eagles are the most flagged team for that.
Right, so
it's something he's never cleaned up.
And here's the thing.
It's 21, 22, 23,
but
24.
It's hard. Like, if you're Landon Dickerson, you're focused on what's in front of you. You don't know what's going on behind you.
No, I understand. I understand, but other teams in the NFL figured this thing out.
Or other quarterbacks have.
Also, fair note.
Right?
Fair note.
And if Jalen Hurts struggles at it, then why would you make him keep on doing it?
Yeah. Why would you throw it to Saquon Barkley when he can run it and he's one of the best in the game at it?
Coming up next, we get to your text messages, back to the Nick Sirianni conversation we've had all show. Also,
make it make sense.
You want to know how bad the rushing defense is? How about historically bad?
Oh, no.
I'll tell you why next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
9:31 on Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic. On this Thursday morning, a Wendy's Thursday morning, the burrito was devoured during the commercial break. Big one. Big, thick burrito today, Connors. Is that correct?
Dude, yes.
Yes.
I could knock somebody out with this burrito.
I think
it was delicious.
I thought it was the heaviest one.
Or you know what? Instead of knocking somebody out, why don't you create world peace? Say, you know what? I'll give you this burrito.
No, I don't want anyone else
He doesn't
taking
want to
this
give up
burrito
his
from me.
burrito. No, but you know what he could do, though?
I could give him something.
He could make sure somebody else gets a burrito.
How about caller number 5 to the contest line? 215-263.
5 will always love you.
0975. Caller number 5 to the contest line will win our fourth and final $50 Wendy's gift card for today's show. Savor the drip of Wendy's Saucy Nugs Party Pack. 45-inch nugs slathered in honey barbecue, garlic parm, buffalo, or ghost pepper. Open until midnight or later. Participating locations only. But Amy Fadul, who will be doing the first 2 hours of the Mike Missanelli show coming up today, she and Ray Dunn are not allowed to have the burrito.
Why are they not allowed to have burrito?
There was state wars going on during the commercial.
You're
break.
on thin ice too over there, Kincade.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, it was a Jersey PA war.
I have something in my notes because it does fit this conversation, saying the Flyers should move to New Jersey now. No, they shouldn't. The Philadelphia Flyers should not move to Camden, should not move across a bridge. Philadelphia teams should not make anyone go across the bridge to go watch them.
All right, the bridge that I have to cross every single day.
Yes, well, you're in New Jersey.
$6.
That's a choice you live.
$6. You know what? Forget the war on Amy and Ray. I have a war on the bridges. $6?
War on the bridges.
Like I was saying this to you guys during the commercial break. I don't know how people still have the cash. I'm glad that there are toll attendants that still have jobs.
Come on.
That's the best thing. Who has $6?
I think I have
get
6 in my
having a 5. You have a 10 and you give them it to the toll person, you get 5 back. That means the next time you go across the bridge, you got that 5. If you have a 10 and it costs $6, now you got 4. What does that $4 do for me? Nothing. Now I need to find a $2 bill. It's a violation. It's terrible.
I'll just tell you is that there's a way to heal it. I get my cousin Katie to help you find a nice place.
Easy pass?
No, we're going to get you to find a nice place over here where you work, where your favorite teams are. We can move you back over.
Nah, see, this is what you don't get, Johnny. New Jersey's not a choice. New Jersey's a lifestyle. You're
Damn
born
right it is,
into
man.
it.
It is. Well,
Get
you're
out of
not
my
taking.
get
guess
out of
what?
my left
You don't
lane.
get to take us. And more importantly, let's ring the bell.
See, that's selfish.
Let's
Why can't-
ring the
why can't
bell
we
for the
share?
Jersey
Fire the
Sixers.
cannon, baby. Fire the Jersey. The
Let's
Jersey
share.
cannon.
You guys get the Eagles, Flyers, and Phillies, and send us the Sixers.
You fire the cannon off in Camden, it's a completely different vibe. It's not the same. It's not.
You fire off the can. It's pretty cool, man.
Ring the damn bell. You're in the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm glad that part of it got resolved.
Liberty Bell cracked. It's overrated anyway. if it's so cool, it wouldn't have cracked. All right.
How did it crack?
Somebody hit it.
No,
they dropped it.
It was dropped.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
All right, let's go to Nick in South Philly, and then I need to tell you just how historically bad the Eagles' rushing defense is. What's up, Nick? Is this Nick Sirianni, Nick in South Philly?
No, unfortunately, we share the same name. Hopefully, but I told you, I called the other day. He's going to have to change his name to Richie Cote.
He is
The problem
Cote.
with him is he makes statements. He's a head coach builder. We need him to build himself as a head coach. That's the first thing. And any head coach builder that I've watched in the last 40 years, the Reeds, the Holmgrens, the Belichicks, none of those guys that they built exceeded success than that master head coach. He can't even do that, but you're going to probably see him be the guy that creates the Gannons and the Steichens and whoever to be better. And I don't know if we're running an NFL fellowship program for head coaches, and the Eagles got involved in that, and he's just like the CEO. At what point do we say he's got to override or make a decision? His coaching staff stinks too. You might have brought in Moore and Fangio, but these guys don't change. And you talk about those good head coaches. They made good draft picks become Pro Bowlers or All-Pro guys. They made marginal guys become starters in the NFL. You look at the Jeremiah Trotters, the Ike Reeses. I'll even talk about when they drafted Corey Simon. He went from a really good player out of college to a Pro Bowl player. Sirianni has none of that in 5 years, and we're sticking with a guy that's gotten progressively worse since losing the Super Bowl. And remember, we got rid of a guy that won a Super Bowl and I'm not his cousin or his brother or Peterson's friend or anything like that. But if you do that, you don't give yourself a chance to build a franchise and a dynasty.
Nick, I think what they did with Sirianni, and this is how I truly feel. They think optics-wise, it would have been a bad look to fire him after being in the Super Bowl 2 years ago when they just did that with Doug Peterson. I honestly believe that's the reason why Nick Sirianni is still here. That and that he said yes to Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio.
I agree with you. And you talk about Bryce Huff. You know, you put all the money, and Roseman's not a genius with the draft. We're done with the Georgia guys. That was really cool for a year. They are not starters in the NFL. They are special teams players.
Jaylen Carter's a starter, and thanks for the call, Nick. Jaylen Carter's a starter, and so is Jordan Davis. He just needs to get better this year. Special teams players, that's outrageous.
Oh, man.
I mean, Nakobe Dean won a linebacker spot this year on this team.
He is, and Nakobe Dean has been...
He's actually been okay.
Solid.
He's been solid.
Better than last year, and better than everyone he had last year.
Compared to the last 2 years.
He's on the field, so yes, better than last year.
Exactly, yes. We actually see him.
But bottom line is rushing defense has been horrible and historically bad. So I want to credit Reuben Frank for this. Rube's notes are always very entertaining to read. Here's how he leads the article. Don't worry. The Eagles aren't the first team in NFL history to allow 315 rushing yards and 6.4 yards per carry in their first 2 games. It's happened before. Like Washington in 1944, the Steelers in 45, the 1950 Baltimore Colts, the 1952 Dallas Texans, and again in Washington 1959. So it's happened 13 times total. The Eagles are the 13th team to do it. 5 of those teams happened before the 60s when all they did was run the football. One more note that he has on here. The Eagles are only the 7th team since the AFL-NFL merger in 1970 to allow 6.4 yards per carry and at least 315 rushing yards through 2 weeks. And that 6.4 figure would be higher if Kirk Cousins didn't kneel.
Yep.
So the Eagles' rushing defense, it's the worst ever through the first 2 weeks in the season in Eagles franchise history. And it's one of the worst ever in the history of the NFL. And remember, Bryce Huff was talked about as not a good rushing, a good edge rusher against the run from the beginning. Josh Sweat, they got him to take less money to come back, if you remember. You know, took a little discount to come back.
Yeah, a little bit of a discount.
So you're relying on the middle. And if the middle's not getting their job done, you have 2 guys on the outside that I don't think are going to really help you.
Nope. Look, I'm going to tell you this right now. I really do have a feeling that by Sunday night, we are going to this club and it's going to be better. I don't know that means that they're going to win the game. But just some things are screaming out to me. I just did it on my Parks app.
Okay.
You realize the over-under for the Eagles Saints? Saints have averaged 42 points a game. The Eagles defense is terrible, right? The over-under is 39.
What?
39. The Eagles are 3-point underdogs.
What's the rest of the league looking like?
Well, the rest of the league's like 44s-ish.
Well, I wonder if they've adjusted because
they have been.
Unders are hitting
but
like
wait a
crazy.
minute. Saints have averaged over 40, and the Eagles' run defense is terrible.
That might be why.
And
maybe they think they're going to be running the football so much.
What about the Eagles' offense? Eagles' offense isn't terrible.
Oh, no, I have it at 49.5.
I got it. I've seen a number here, 39, popping off at me. And it's crazy.
Are you sure that tonight's 39.5?
Let me see here.
Jets and Patriots.
Let me just check the number. Because that would be crazy. It is
if we had a 10-point swing.
No, that is correct. You're absolutely correct.
I was going to say.
That is correct.
I take the under on one book and the over in the other.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. I'm telling you, I think we're going to feel, I really do. I'm not giving up on this team, and as angry as I've been about what went down the other night,
am I.
I do believe that this is going to be a team that is going to still manage to be right there in the mid, and they're going to win the division.
Yes. But
whether that
this
means,
weekend's important, man.
I see. I'm not with you on that. I am with you that I want to change the impression of them. If they go 1-2, I still think they're winning the division.
All right, then they're 1-2 going
And I
against
still think they're winning the
maybe
division.
better than what we expected Bucks team.
Could be. I still
before
think
bye
they're winning the
week.
division.
All right. Coming up next, we have the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes of today's show.
Yeah, 39.5 tonight, excuse me, on that 49 for Sunday.
And it might still be an underplay tonight, too. We can talk about
Really?
that a little bit more coming up next as well. It's Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic. It is 9:47 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, real quick, we haven't mentioned it at all today. Congratulations on a wild career for Adrian Wojnarowski. Wild career because it is a wild job to do, and you and I were literally talking about it yesterday.
We did. We had this conversation off the air yesterday after talking about Adam. And look, we could say it. Shefty makes
a lot of money,
north of $8 million a year.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh yeah, dude, that guy makes it.
I'm gonna start asking him for a couple $100 every time I call him.
Well, and I was saying, you couldn't give me that job. I wouldn't want that job.
It's a lot, man.
It is a lot, and even though you think it's not a big deal, this time of year,
and it's really cool.
It's not as big.
And it's a fun job.
It's awesome, and his access that he gets and everything. It's a hell of a job.
Like imagine Christmas morning, you're waking up. And the kiddos are opening up the presents.
Oh no!
Like,
and you're
hold on a second. Howie's texting me about something.
And by that, you are on call.
Yeah.
You're not able to go. Whoa! Wait a minute. By the way, I need this Saturday off or this Sunday off because it's my daughter's birthday. Or no.
No, you're on call like 365 days a year.
Somebody will say, "Well, for the money, what do you care about?" And he has the studio in his home.
Yeah.
But it's like you still have to constantly be on call. I
was drained yesterday. I was kind of staring at my phone too long around Cooper, and Chrissy was like, "Hey, get off the phone." And I'm like, "You're right." Shefty and Woj,
they can't get off it.
Shams.
Yes.
Shams literally can't date Kay Adams. Like, it's a shame for him.
It is a shame, but here's what I'll say: you guys are kind of burying the lead. Shout out to Woj, great work by him. But now the number one insider in any sport at ESPN. Joins this show every Wednesday morning.
Yes.
Well, he's always been the number one.
Yeah, he's always been.
Well, it's been tight. He's been one, and then
no, he's always been the number one. NBA is not NFL.
Shefty's number one.
NBA's great. Take.
Well,
how
retires, and all of a sudden,
take every Everybody talks about the NBA owns Christmas.
Day, yeah.
NBA owns
NFL
Christmas.
NFL does one game.
Every game added together didn't match the Chiefs and the Raiders last year or the Eagles and the Giants.
Right.
The NBA owning Christmas is such a fallacy.
Well, if there was a debate, there's no longer one anymore.
It's done there.
It is time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas
Presented by Von
Key
C.
3. Today's best.
What we already knew about the pass rush and the fears of the pass rush just look even worse when people highlight specific things. And as I said to you a lot yesterday, John, my biggest concern added to what was my biggest concern is that I don't see this getting better unless Vic Fangio finds a way to be creative with some of the pass rush techniques, either with the edge rushers, maybe they stunt, maybe they do some certain things, or maybe he adds pressure, maybe he does a 5-man front. I don't know, but I don't see an end in sight. I like a light at the end of the tunnel. It's darkness with the pass rush right now.
I would look at it as the light is an incoming train because I couldn't agree with you more. We start the show today with it. That's what I really come away with is that I don't know what improves, but I do know this. The road's much easier at different parts in the season. Yeah. This is not a horrible team. This is not a team that is going to win 4 or 5 games. But how good are they? I hope that I have not completely overvalued this.
One, the Phillies. First off, great win yesterday. Zach Wheeler, dominant. Bryce Harper hit what looked like a pop-up, and I think he thought it was a pop-up, the way he reacted as he was jogging down the first baseline.
As he said after the game, he knew he got it, but he just has been owned by that pitcher his entire career.
That he thought it wasn't going out.
No, he was doing his little foxtrot down the line.
And he hits the home run. Castellanos goes yard, number 21 on the season. And Zach Wheeler was fantastic. Bullpen was great. Phils get the win.
And right now with their record, no matter what happens, they are in a good position to have home field should they ever get to a World Series with the better record. I'm not sure I want them to kill themselves, though, to try to get the 1 seed, if it comes down to it. Because I look at it as I think the Padres are the most dangerous team.
The mummer himself, Adam Schefter, joins us. Shefty, good morning.
It's very easy to get on Nick Sirianni, and I'm not saying it's wrong. But football, it's one of the reasons that I believe this sport is popular as it is. You've got a situation where basically the coach, whatever the coach decides, if it works, he's brilliant and bold and daring. And if it doesn't, he's an idiot. And it's that simple.
And I told you, John, yesterday, and I told you this morning, I'm not over this loss. Do I believe that they're going to miss the playoffs? No. But I do believe that this loss may have some reasons why they're not a 1 seed down the road or 2 seed down the road. Or maybe they have to play in Week 18 when Week 18 could have been a week where they There is a reason why you should be still upset after the Week 2 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Jeff McClain joins us. Jeffrey, good morning. How are you?
I didn't have any problem with the play. I mean, something that they ran earlier in the game with success. He was open. The pass was there. He just needed to catch it. I get the argument to run it there, too. I mean, I'm not saying it's black and white, but Nick was right. They were clogging the middle. They could have ended the game right there. If he catches it, he'll probably get a first down, and they probably would just kind of go down in bounds maybe. My issue was that, if they're going to be aggressive with that play call, then you should be aggressive on fourth down and go for it.
What Monday night did for a lot of people was open up a door to questions again. It opened up thought was closed, especially after the win against the Packers of, hey, man, if they lose a couple of games early on, how's that locker room going to be? You open the door back to that after one loss, and a loss where you should have won that football game, and a couple of decisions, or if a ball is caught, whatever you want to say, it came down to a final quarter where no matter how ugly it was at times, you were going to win that game. But that loss and the way you lost, with the decision-making by the head coach, that loss opens those questions back up, Johnny.
I think that the one thing I would say to you on that is that they already have shown you that they're going to send a message this year, which they didn't last year. They're going to send us a message that this year is going to be different, that they're assembled, the Wonder Twins are together, they're all going to be all for one for all, that this is going to be a different. A.J. Brown said it yesterday.
Yep.
So I think there's a different mindset to this year's team, but is there a different level of talent? Is there enough talent to overcome some of the deficiencies?
All right, that's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 presented by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown. Don't miss their Oktoberfest celebration, September 27th through the 29th, where you can try their Oktoberfest Key 3, the Berliner Weiss, a historic German sour beer, the Festbier, a modern take on the Oktoberfest. I don't know if they want me to say it that way. The Festbier and the Berliner Weiss. I just like to add a little spice to it.
Haley can speak German.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? And the Von C. Toberfest Marzen, a love letter to Munich Malt. Visit VonCbrewing.com and find out where you can pick up your Key 3 from Von C today. I know a lot of people where this is like their favorite time of the beer year.
Oh, yes.
Buddy, all time is the best time of the beer.
No, this is Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest in terms of the way, like the people that, look, I drink,
You do drink.
I drink, but I drink like the dad beers, as people say. There are like the beer snobs where like this is their favorite time of the year.
Our buddy Jamie.
Yes, this might be his favorite time of the year.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, FT Young Heating and Air Conditioning, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives.
All right, everybody have a great rest of your day. We're back at it tomorrow on a Football Friday. Oh, man, this week's flown by.
DeCecco, 8 to 9.
And then who's our
Mike
guest?
Detillier, who covers the Saints from WWL, does afternoon drive in New Orleans. He'll join us tomorrow. Tell us everything we need to know about the Saints.
Looking forward to that. All right, coming up next, the Mike Missanelli Show with Bill Colarulo starts at 12 today. So Amy Fadul is doing the first 2 hours with Ray Dunn. You guys enjoy that as we will.